Welcome to Ancient Wisdom, a sanctuary where timeless wisdom guides you into deep, restful sleep. Let the wisdom of the ages quiet your mind, ease your worries, and carry you gently into the night. If you're here to relax, reflect, and drift into peaceful slumber, you're exactly where you need to be. Before you get too cozy, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me bring more soothing content your way. Also, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from, and what time is it for you right now? Share in the comments below. Now, settle in, get comfortable, and let the wisdom of the ages guide you into deep, restful sleep.
What if I told you that everything you thought about self-growth is wrong? You've been following advice, setting goals, and chasing success, but it's not working. Here's why. Most of us spend years trying to build confidence, avoid failure, and search for signs before taking action. But what if the real answers are hidden in unexpected places? I've uncovered 50 life-changing insights that have nothing to do with the usual self-help tricks. These aren't just tips. They're hard-learned truths that turn everything we know on its head. In this video, I'll reveal insights that change my life and could change yours too. We'll go beyond the basics. No, just stay positive advice here. These are deep, sometimes uncomfortable truths that can shift your perspective on confidence, relationships, resilience, and so much more. Stay with me, and I'll show you exactly how each one can transform the way you approach life. 1. Confidence comes from keeping commitments. I've learned that confidence is less about what I look like or how others see me, and more about whether I can trust myself. Each time I make a promise to myself, even something small like, I'll get up at 6 a.m., I have a choice, to follow through or to let it slide. When I follow through, even on these tiny promises, I feel stronger, more capable. It's as if my confidence builds layer by layer, growing out of every commitment I keep. I've realized that self-trust isn't something that just appears. It's something I have to earn daily. There have been times when I've let myself down, and it's remarkable how quickly confidence fades. Maybe I told myself I'd hit the gym 3 times this week, but by Friday, I made excuses. Each broken promise left a little dent in my self-respect. These experiences taught me that the commitments I make to myself are more valuable than anything external. I could win compliments, success, and recognition, but if I'm not honoring my own word, none of that really builds true confidence. Confidence, I've come to see, isn't about being perfect or fearless. It's about being reliable to myself. So I started small, setting realistic goals I knew I could meet, and building from there. Now I find myself setting bigger, more exciting goals, knowing that I have the strength to see them through. Each commitment kept is a quiet victory, a reminder that I can trust myself no matter what life throws my way. 2. Seek problems. Don't avoid them. I used to be a champion problem avoider. If there was a way to sidestep a challenge or a tricky situation, I'd find it. At first, this approach felt like it kept my life running smoothly. No big disruptions, no uncomfortable confrontations. But gradually, I noticed something unsettling. Without challenges, I wasn't growing. I was staying within the boundaries of what I already knew and could handle. The problem with that was I'd reached a plateau. I wasn't stretching myself, and that lack of growth started to feel like stagnation. One day, I decided to face a small problem head-on, a work project that had intimidated me for months. Instead of dodging the responsibility, I dove in, learning as I went, even when it felt messy. I made mistakes, but I kept pushing forward. When I finally completed the project, I felt a surge of pride. It wasn't perfect, but I'd done it, and I could feel that my confidence had grown just by confronting the challenge. That experience shifted my entire perspective on problems. Since then, I've tried to see problems not as roadblocks, but as invitations to grow. Now, when I encounter a challenge, I remind myself that overcoming it will make me stronger and wiser. It's not always easy, and sometimes I still feel tempted to run. But I know that if I avoid the problem, I'll be missing out on growth. Every problem has something valuable to teach me, and facing them head-on has made me more resilient, adaptable, and open to change. I'm realizing that growth rarely happens in my comfort zone, and while that can be uncomfortable, it's also exhilarating. Seeking out problems to solve has become my way of embracing life's opportunities for growth. 3. Dedicate a decade, not a day. I used to be obsessed with instant results. Whether it was fitness, career goals, or even learning new skills, I'd go all in for a few days or weeks, expecting to see drastic changes. When things didn't shift as quickly as I'd hoped, I'd get frustrated and quit. It felt like I was putting in so much effort with nothing to show for it, and that mentality kept me on a cycle of short bursts and burnouts. But one day, I came across the idea of dedicating a decade to my goals rather than just a day or a week. At first, it seemed excessive. Why would I need to think that far ahead? But when I tried this approach, I felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders. Suddenly, I wasn't in a hurry. I had time to make mistakes, adjust, and keep moving forward without the pressure to succeed immediately. I started small, focusing on daily habits rather than immediate results. I knew I didn't need to make drastic changes overnight. Embracing this long-term view changed everything. Instead of getting disheartened by small setbacks, I began to see them as part of the process. I learned that true transformation requires patience, and progress isn't always visible day by day. When I look back over the months and years, though, I can see how far I've come. Now I remind myself to be patient and consistent, trusting that every small effort compounds over time. This shift in mindset has allowed me to pursue my goals without the constant feeling of urgency. Dedicating myself for the long haul has taught me that time, persistence, and consistency can create powerful results, far beyond what any quick fix could ever accomplish. 4. Don't dim your light. For a long time, I tried to keep parts of myself hidden. I was cautious about celebrating my achievements or expressing my dreams around others, fearing that I'd make them uncomfortable or come across as arrogant. So, I learned to downplay my strengths and stay quiet about my goals, thinking it was better to blend in. I convinced myself that keeping a low profile was a way of staying humble, but over time I started feeling unfulfilled and invisible in my own life. One day, I realized that by dimming my light, I was betraying myself. I wasn't being honest with who I was or who I wanted to become. I was shrinking myself to fit into spaces where I wasn't celebrated or encouraged. This self-censorship wasn't protecting anyone's feelings. It was only holding me back from my potential and preventing others from seeing the real me. I finally asked myself, what's wrong with shining my light? I want to be proud of my growth and my dreams without feeling guilty. Since then, I've decided to embrace my light fully. I share my aspirations and my successes openly, knowing that those who truly care about me will support me. I've also noticed that when I'm unapologetically myself, I attract people who resonate with my energy and who inspire me to grow even further. My light, I've come to realize, isn't meant to dim. It's meant to shine as a reminder to myself, and maybe even to others, that it's okay to take up space in the world. Choosing to live fully and shine has been liberating. I no longer hide parts of myself for anyone's comfort. I embrace who I am, knowing that those meant to be in my life will stay, and those who aren't can look elsewhere. My light is my gift to the world, and I'm no longer afraid to let it shine. 5. Only ask advice from people who've been there. I used to ask advice from just about anyone willing to listen, friends, family, even acquaintances who seemed to have it together. I thought more opinions would mean better guidance, but I quickly realized that too many conflicting perspectives left me feeling overwhelmed and unsure of which direction to take. Even worse, I sometimes got advice from people who hadn't achieved the goals I was aiming for, and that often led me down paths that didn't align with my true intentions. After some reflection, I realized that seeking advice is like choosing a map for a journey. I need to pick one that's already been traveled by someone who's reached the destination I want to go to. If I'm looking to build a business, I should ask advice from successful entrepreneurs, not people who've never taken that risk. The same goes for other areas of life: health, relationships, personal growth. Only those who have walked the path can truly understand its nuances and offer insights based on real experience. Now, I'm more selective with whose advice I seek. I focus on finding mentors or people who've achieved what I aspire to achieve. I've also learned that it's okay to ignore well-meaning advice from people who don't fully understand my goals. This approach has not only saved me time, but has also given me more confidence in my choices. When I ask advice now, I feel assured that I'm getting insights from someone who understands my journey and can guide me effectively. I trust my path more and feel grounded in my decisions, knowing I'm following guidance that's aligned with my goals. 6. Keep a journal. I used to think journaling was just for recording the big events or accomplishments in life. I never thought about using it as a tool for self-reflection or emotional processing. But one day, feeling overwhelmed and unable to make sense of my thoughts, I decided to give journaling a try. I opened a notebook and just started writing everything that was on my mind. No filter, no judgment. By the time I finished, I felt lighter, as if I had cleared space in my mind. That experience showed me that journaling could be more than just a record of life. It could be a powerful tool for self-understanding. Since then, I've made journaling a regular part of my routine. I use it to set goals, reflect on my experiences, and process emotions that I don't always feel comfortable sharing with others. It's a private space where I can be completely honest with myself. I write about my fears, my dreams, and my progress, no matter how small. Some days my entries are long and detailed. Other days they're just a few lines. But each entry helps me track my growth, see patterns in my thinking, and clarify what I truly want in life. Journaling has taught me the value of self-reflection. I can look back on past entries and see how far I've come, recognize the challenges I've overcome, and notice areas where I still want to grow. It's a grounding practice that reminds me of my journey and keeps me connected to my goals. Now my journal is a trusted companion, a safe space that encourages me to be honest, intentional, and constantly evolving. 7. Normalize leaving people in their reality. There was a time when I would get so frustrated with people who didn't see things the way I did. Whether it was a friend making questionable choices or a family member stuck in a negative cycle, I felt compelled to help them see things my way. I'd give advice, try to fix things and feel frustrated when they didn't change. But over time, I realized something important. I was spending too much energy trying to change others instead of focusing on my own growth. Now, I understand that everyone has their own reality, shaped by experiences, beliefs, and choices. I've learned to respect that, even if I don't agree with it. Instead of feeling responsible for others' choices, I'm learning to let people be exactly who they are, where they are. This shift has been freeing. It doesn't mean I don't care about them, but it does mean I can set boundaries and focus on my own path. Letting go of the urge to change people has allowed me to experience more peace in my relationships. I can support loved ones without feeling burdened by their decisions, and I can focus on my own growth without getting distracted by others' lives. This doesn't mean I don't offer advice when asked, but I no longer try to force change. By normalizing the idea that people are on their own journeys, I've learned to respect both their process and my own. This acceptance has brought me a sense of freedom and clarity that I didn't know I needed. 8. Take on as much responsibility as you can. Responsibility used to feel like a burden. I thought that the more I took on, the more stressful life would become. But as I started accepting new challenges, I realized something interesting. Responsibility actually made me stronger. Each time I took on something new, whether it was a project at work or a commitment in my personal life, I felt a little more capable. I began to understand that responsibility isn't about adding weight. It's about building capacity. Taking on responsibility has been one of the most effective ways for me to grow. I've learned new skills, discovered strengths I didn't know I had, and developed a resilience that serves me in every area of my life. It's not always easy, and sometimes it does feel overwhelming, but each challenge is an opportunity to expand my limits. I used to think of responsibility as something I had to carry alone, but I've learned that asking for help and delegating when possible is part of handling responsibility wisely. Now, I embrace responsibility as a tool for growth. I don't take on everything that comes my way, but I look for opportunities where I can make a meaningful impact. Each commitment I accept is a chance to strengthen my skills, build my character, and make a difference in the lives of others. The more I lean into responsibility, the more confident I feel in my ability to handle whatever comes next. Responsibility, I've come to realize, is a privilege and an avenue to grow into my best self. 9. Life is a mirror, not a window. For the longest time, I viewed life as a window, something I looked out of to see other people's actions, behaviors, and flaws. I'd catch myself judging others, wondering why they acted in certain ways, or getting frustrated with situations that didn't go my way. But eventually, I realized that life is more like a mirror than a window. The things I notice in others often reflect my own insecurities, fears, and unresolved issues. This realization wasn't easy to accept. It felt uncomfortable to think that the frustration I felt toward others might actually be a sign of something within myself. But as I started looking inward, I began to see the truth in it. If I felt irritated by someone's behavior, I asked myself, is this something I struggle with too? More often than not, the answer was yes. This self-reflection has helped me approach situations with more empathy and less judgment. Viewing life as a mirror has been transformative. Instead of blaming others or external situations, I try to focus on what I can learn about myself from each experience. If I'm struggling with someone's behavior, I ask myself what this interaction is teaching me about my own growth. This shift has made me more compassionate and more accountable. Life constantly reflects my inner state, and by paying attention to these reflections, I can work on becoming the person I want to be. It's a challenging but rewarding practice that keeps me focused on self-improvement. 10. Surround yourself with supportive people. I used to think that I could achieve everything on my own, regardless of who was around me. But as I started setting bigger goals, I realized how much my environment mattered. I noticed that the people I spent the most time with had a significant impact on my motivation, mindset, and even my self-belief. Some friends encouraged me and celebrated my wins, while others made subtle comments that left me doubting myself. That's when I knew I had to be more intentional about who I let into my circle. I began seeking out people who uplifted me, those who had their own goals, who believed in growth, and who genuinely wanted to see me succeed. This didn't mean I cut everyone out of my life, but I did start spending more time with those who inspired me. It made a noticeable difference. With supportive friends around, I felt more motivated and more confident in my goals. I realized that when you're surrounded by the right people, their positivity and ambition rub off on you. Having a supportive circle isn't just about encouragement, it's also about accountability. My friends challenge me when I'm slacking and remind me of my potential when I doubt myself. I've learned that a strong support system is a powerful resource. They are the ones who remind me of my worth and push me to keep going, even when things get tough. Now, I prioritize relationships that energize me and let go of those that drain me. Surrounding myself with supportive people has been one of the best decisions for my personal and professional growth. 11. Put your own mask on first. For a long time, I thought taking care of myself was selfish. I'd put everyone else's needs before my own, thinking it was the right thing to do. But over time, I found myself running on empty, mentally and physically drained. I was trying to be everything for everyone else, but I wasn't showing up for myself. Then one day I heard the phrase, "Put your own mask on first," like in an airplane emergency, and it clicked. How can I truly be there for others if I'm not taking care of myself? Learning to prioritize my own needs was a shift. I started small, taking breaks when I felt overwhelmed, setting aside time each day just for me, and learning to say no without feeling guilty. At first, it felt strange, even uncomfortable, to put myself first. But soon I noticed a difference. I was more energized, more present, and less resentful because I wasn't constantly running on empty. Taking care of myself wasn't selfish, it was necessary. Now I make self-care a priority, understanding that it's not just about relaxation, but about recharging my energy so I can genuinely be there for others. I've learned that giving from a place of wholeness is far more impactful than giving from a place of depletion. Putting my own mask on first has allowed me to show up as the best version of myself for the people I care about. I can support others with genuine compassion because I've taken care of my own well-being first. 12. Never too late to change. There were times I felt stuck in life, convinced it was too late to make a big change, whether it was career goals, personal habits, or learning something new. I had this limiting belief that the opportunity had passed. But then I started noticing stories of people who transformed their lives at all ages. Some started businesses in their 40s, others went back to school in their 60s. I began to realize that change doesn't come with an expiration date. When I finally embraced this mindset, I felt a newfound freedom. I stopped holding myself back with the excuse of, "It's too late." Instead, I started asking, "What's stopping me?" I took my first steps toward the changes I wanted, and it was empowering. At first, progress was slow and self-doubt crept in, but I reminded myself that every day is a chance to start anew. Each small step built on the last, and eventually I looked back and realized I'd made real progress. Now, whenever I feel too late to pursue a dream or change a habit, I remind myself that life is always moving forward, and it's never too late to jump on board. I've learned to embrace the journey at my own pace, knowing that change can happen at any stage. The best time to start is now, and I'm no longer waiting for the perfect time or feeling constrained by my past decisions. I have the power to change at any moment, and that realization is both liberating and empowering. 13. Treat your body like gold. For years I took my health for granted. I thought I could eat whatever I wanted, stay up late and skip exercise, assuming my body would just keep up. But eventually I began feeling the effects: low energy, frequent fatigue, and just an overall sense of sluggishness. It dawned on me that I was neglecting the one thing that enables me to live my life fully: my body. I realized that treating my body with care wasn't just about looking good. It was about feeling good and having the energy to pursue my dreams. I started paying attention to what I put in my body, making small changes like drinking more water, eating more whole foods, and prioritizing sleep. At first, it felt like an effort, but the positive effects were undeniable. My energy improved, my mood lifted, and I felt more present in my daily life. I began to see my body as a valuable asset that needed nurturing, not as something that could be neglected and taken for granted. Now, I treat my body like gold. I prioritize movement, make conscious food choices, and value rest just as much as productivity. This shift has been transformative. I have the energy and clarity to take on new challenges, and I feel more aligned with my goals because I'm taking care of the vessel that carries me through life. Treating my body with respect has reminded me that health isn't a chore. It's an investment in the quality of my life. And there's nothing more empowering than feeling strong, capable, and ready for whatever life brings. 14. Start investing early. For the longest time, I thought investing was something you did when you were older or had a lot of money. I'd put it off, thinking I'd get to it one day. But the more I learned about finances, the more I realized that time is one of the biggest advantages in investing. Starting early, even with a small amount, allows my money to grow exponentially over the years. That was a powerful realization. When I finally started investing, I didn't have a lot to contribute, but I took the leap. I set up a small automatic contribution to a fund, and though it felt like a minor step, I was amazed at how quickly it added up. Month after month, I could see the progress, and it gave me a sense of security and control over my financial future. The earlier I started, the more time my investments had to grow, and that's a huge advantage I'm grateful to have. Now, I'm passionate about financial literacy, and I encourage others to start investing as soon as possible, even if it's just a small amount. Watching my savings grow over time has taught me that investing isn't about having a huge sum. It's about being consistent and patient. I feel more empowered knowing that I'm preparing for my future, and that each small investment today will bring me greater freedom and security down the road. Starting early was one of the best decisions I've made, and I'm glad I didn't wait for the perfect time to begin. 15. Assume positive intent. I used to get defensive quickly. If someone said something that felt critical or came across the wrong way, I'd immediately assume they were being negative or trying to undermine me. It caused tension in my relationships and often left me feeling anxious or upset over things that might have been unintentional. But one day I read about assuming positive intent, the idea of giving people the benefit of the doubt, and I decided to give it a try. The next time a friend made a comment that felt off, I paused and told myself, maybe they didn't mean it that way. Instead of reacting, I asked for clarification. To my surprise, the conversation went smoothly, and I realized I'd misinterpreted their words. That moment taught me that assuming positive intent can change the entire tone of an interaction. It allows me to stay calm and focus on understanding rather than reacting. Now, whenever I feel triggered by someone's words or actions, I remind myself to assume they have good intentions. This shift has improved my relationships and reduced my stress. I've found that most people aren't out to harm or criticize. They're just expressing themselves, and sometimes things get lost in communication. By assuming positive intent, I can approach situations with empathy and curiosity rather than defensiveness. It's made me a better listener and helped me build stronger connections. Plus, it's a lot more peaceful to give people the benefit of the doubt and focus on understanding instead of assuming the worst. 16. Don't blame others. I used to spend a lot of time pointing fingers. When things went wrong, it was easy to blame others or circumstances for my frustrations and setbacks. If something didn't work out, I'd think, well, if they hadn't done this, or if only the situation had been different. This mindset kept me stuck in a loop of resentment and powerlessness, because as long as I was blaming others, I wasn't taking responsibility for my role in my own life. One day I came across the idea that taking responsibility, even when it's uncomfortable, is the only way to reclaim control. I decided to try it. The next time something went wrong, instead of blaming someone else, I asked myself, what could I have done differently? It wasn't easy to look inward, but it made me feel surprisingly empowered. I realized that by focusing on what I could control, my actions, my reactions, my choices, I could actively improve my life instead of waiting for others to change. Now I make a conscious effort to own my part in every situation, good or bad. I've learned that taking responsibility isn't about blaming myself. It's about learning and growing. When I stop pointing fingers, I free up energy that I can use to solve the problem, move forward, and make better choices next time. This mindset shift has given me a new sense of freedom and control over my life. I feel more capable and less like a victim of circumstance, knowing that I have the power to create change through my own actions. 17. Your new life will cost you your old one. This realization hit me hard. For a long time, I wanted to change my life, but wasn't willing to let go of my old habits and routines. I wanted the results without the sacrifices. I'd cling to my comfort zone, expecting transformation to happen without having to give anything up. But one day, I had to face the truth. If I wanted a new life, I had to be willing to let go of the old one. The habits, the mindsets, and even some relationships that no longer aligned with my vision had to go. Letting go was hard. I had to stop spending time with people who weren't on the same path and stop wasting time on distractions that didn't support my goals. It felt lonely and uncomfortable at first, but I knew I had to make room for the new life I wanted. I focused on creating new habits, surrounding myself with people who inspired me, and setting boundaries that protected my energy. Slowly, I began to see the results. My old life was fading, and I was stepping into a new, more fulfilling one. Now, I embrace the idea that growth requires letting go. It's no longer something I fear, but something I see as necessary. When I feel resistance to change, I remind myself that my new life won't fit if I'm still holding on to my old ways. I've learned to trust the process of releasing what no longer serves me. The more I let go, the more space I create for new opportunities, experiences, and growth. My new life is worth the sacrifices, and I'm willing to keep evolving to reach my fullest potential. 18. Take risks on real-life experiences, not your phone. I used to spend hours scrolling through social media, watching other people's lives unfold. It was like I was living through a screen, missing out on real experiences because I was too busy watching others have them. The endless scrolling left me feeling empty and envious, wondering why my life didn't look as exciting as the images on my feed. But then I realized I was giving all my time and energy to my phone instead of my own life. So I decided to take a risk. I started putting my phone down and looking for real-world experiences. I signed up for classes, explored new places, and tried things I'd been curious about for ages. The first few times, I felt awkward, even anxious. But with each new experience, I felt more alive. I was creating memories, not just watching someone else's highlight reel. The more I invested in real life, the less I felt the need to check my phone constantly. I realized that true fulfillment comes from being present in my own life, not from comparing myself to others online. Now, I prioritize experiences that nourish me and connect me to the world around me. I still use my phone, but it's no longer my main source of entertainment or validation. I've found that life outside the screen is richer and more rewarding than anything I could scroll through. Taking risks in real life has helped me grow, connect, and discover new parts of myself that I didn't even know existed. I'm learning to value my own life over the digital distractions and focus on living a story worth telling. 19. Respect comes from admiration, not fear. There was a time when I thought that to be respected, I needed to be firm, unyielding, and at times intimidating. I believed that people respected those who showed authority, and I tried to act in ways that projected strength. But this approach often left me feeling isolated and disconnected from others. People may have complied, but it didn't feel like genuine respect. It felt like they were afraid of disappointing me or facing my disapproval. It took time, but I eventually learned that true respect comes from admiration, not fear. The people I respected most weren't those who intimidated me. They were those who inspired me. They led by example, showed kindness, and treated others with empathy. They didn't demand respect. They earned it by being people of integrity, character, and humility. This realization shifted how I approached my own relationships. I started focusing on building respect through trust and kindness rather than authority. Now, I try to lead with empathy and understanding. I aim to inspire others by being authentic, dependable, and compassionate, rather than trying to command respect through authority. The connections I build are stronger and more genuine. People respond to me not out of fear, but because they see me as someone they can trust and admire. Respect rooted in admiration has a powerful, lasting effect, and it creates bonds that are much deeper and more meaningful than any form of intimidation ever could. 20. Tell people about themselves. I used to assume that people already knew their strengths, and I rarely gave compliments or pointed out their positive qualities. But one day, a friend told me how much they appreciated a small compliment I'd given them months earlier. It was something I barely remembered saying, yet it had made a lasting impact on them. That's when I realized how powerful it is to remind people of their strengths and qualities. Often, they don't see themselves the way others do, and a few kind words can lift them up in ways we may never understand. Since then, I've made it a point to tell people what I admire about them. I'll acknowledge a friend's resilience, a colleague's creativity, or a family member's kindness. I don't wait for a special occasion or assume they already know. It's amazing to see how people light up when they're reminded of their unique qualities. Sometimes I even notice that it encourages them to lean into those strengths even more. This practice has not only deepened my relationships, but has also made me more appreciative and observant. I find myself looking for the good in others, and it feels good to uplift them. Now, I understand that telling people about themselves isn't just a nice gesture. It's a gift that can change their day, their perspective, or even their lives. Everyone deserves to be seen and valued, and I'm grateful to be able to offer that reminder whenever I can. It's a simple habit that brings a lot of positivity and connection into my life and the lives of others. Avoid gossip and drama. For a long time I found myself drawn into gossip and drama without even realizing it. Whether it was at work, with friends, or even online, I'd get pulled into conversations about other people's lives, judging or speculating about their choices. It felt harmless at first, even entertaining, but over time I noticed it had a negative effect on my mood and mindset. I was spending energy on things that didn't matter and had no impact on my own life. I started feeling drained and more focused on negativity than positivity. One day, I decided to step back and take a break from these kinds of conversations. At first, it felt like I was missing out, but soon I noticed a shift. My mind felt clearer, and I had more energy to focus on things that genuinely mattered to me: my goals, my relationships, my personal growth. I realized that when I avoided gossip and drama, I felt lighter and more at peace with myself. I no longer carried the weight of judging others, and I was free from the negativity that gossip breeds. Now, I consciously choose conversations that are positive, meaningful, and aligned with my values. I focus on creation, on building something worthwhile in my life, rather than tearing others down. This shift has not only improved my mindset, but has also attracted more like-minded people into my life. I feel happier, more grounded, and more focused on what truly matters. Avoiding gossip and drama has allowed me to cultivate a sense of peace and purpose, and I'm grateful for the clarity and positivity it brings. 22. Improving yourself daily is the best addiction. For a while I chased different distractions to escape boredom: social media, television, even shopping. It filled the time but left me feeling empty afterward. Then I decided to try something different, making self-improvement my daily focus. At first it was simple things like reading a few pages of a book, practicing mindfulness, or working out. But as I kept at it, I started to crave this feeling of growth. It became a positive addiction, one where every day I aimed to be just a little better than I was yesterday. This focus on self-improvement transformed my perspective on life. I started setting goals, tracking my progress, and celebrating my wins, no matter how small. I saw how these tiny daily improvements built up over time, creating real, noticeable change in my life. I became more confident, more capable, and more resilient. I stopped looking for quick fixes or external validation because I was already fulfilled by the progress I was making internally. Now, self-improvement is a core part of my life. Each day, I look forward to learning something new, practicing a skill, or working on a personal goal. This daily dedication to growth brings purpose to my routines and adds depth to my life. I'm proud of the person I'm becoming, and I'm excited to see where this journey of self-improvement will lead. Choosing to improve myself every day has been one of the best decisions I've ever made, and I can't imagine going back to a life without it. 23. Learn to say no. For years, I struggled with saying no. I'd say yes to everything. Favors, invitations, projects, because I didn't want to disappoint anyone. I thought being helpful and accommodating was a good thing, but I soon realized it was costing me my time, energy, and, often, my peace of mind. I'd end up overwhelmed with little time left for myself or my priorities. I was stretching myself thin to please everyone else, and it was exhausting. One day, I decided to set boundaries and start saying no to things that didn't align with my goals or well-being. At first, it was difficult. I felt guilty and worried about how others would react. But gradually, I realized that every no was actually a yes to something more meaningful. My own time, my own peace, my own priorities. Saying no didn't make me selfish. It made me intentional about where I directed my energy. Now I see the power of saying no. I'm more focused, more in control, and much less stressed. I've learned that setting boundaries isn't about shutting people out. It's about honoring myself. When I say no to distractions, I'm able to give my best to the things that truly matter. It's a liberating feeling, and it has allowed me to live a more balanced, fulfilling life. I've come to understand that no is a complete sentence, and I'm grateful for the freedom it brings. 24. Be cautious with debt. In my early years, I didn't think twice about debt. It seemed like everyone had it, and it felt like an easy way to get what I wanted without having to wait. I'd use credit for things I didn't necessarily need, thinking I could pay it off later. But as the debt piled up, I began to feel the weight of it. The interest accumulated, the payments grew, and I realized that what once felt like freedom was now a burden that limited my choices. I decided to educate myself on finances and realized that not all debt is equal. There's good debt that can be an investment in my future, like a mortgage or student loan, and there's bad debt, like consumer debt, on things that don't appreciate in value. This knowledge changed the way I approached spending and borrowing. I made a plan to pay off my consumer debt, focusing on living within my means and saving for things I truly needed or wanted. Now, I approach debt with caution and intention. I no longer use credit as an extension of my income, but as a tool for building a stable future. I've learned the importance of living below my means and saving for what matters. This shift has given me more financial freedom and peace of mind. I feel more in control of my life, knowing that I'm not weighed down by unnecessary debt. Being cautious with debt has taught me that true freedom comes from financial discipline, not from instant gratification. 25. Quality over quantity in friendships. There was a time when I thought the more friends I had, the better. I'd spread myself thin trying to maintain a large social circle, thinking it was a sign of popularity or success. But over time, I noticed that many of these friendships were surface level. I didn't feel truly connected or supported. I found myself feeling lonely even when surrounded by people, because I lacked genuine, meaningful connections. Then I started focusing on the quality of my friendships rather than the quantity. I invested more time and energy into the people who truly mattered, the ones who were there for me during tough times and who celebrated my wins as if they were their own. I made an effort to deepen these connections, to show up for my friends and let them show up for me. I stopped worrying about having a large circle and started valuing a smaller, more intimate group of friends who genuinely cared. This shift has brought so much fulfillment into my life. I feel supported, understood, and deeply connected to the people I surround myself with. I no longer measure friendship by numbers, but by the depth of the connection and the mutual support we offer each other. Quality over quantity has become my guiding principle, and it has made my relationships richer and more meaningful. I'm grateful for the friends who bring joy, strength, and love into my life, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. 26. Self-care. First, for years I thought self-care was a luxury, something I'd get around to when everything else was done, when everyone else was taken care of, and when there was nothing left to do. But that time rarely came, and I found myself exhausted, stressed, and barely hanging on. I was so focused on making sure everyone else was okay that I neglected my own needs. Eventually, I hit a breaking point and realized that I couldn't keep giving from an empty cup. I started making self-care a priority, even if it felt selfish at first. I carved out time each day to do something for myself, whether it was a few minutes of meditation, a walk outside, or reading a book. I noticed that as I took better care of myself, I had more energy, patience, and focus to give to others. Self-care wasn't selfish. It was necessary for me to show up as the best version of myself in every area of my life. Now, I see self-care as the foundation of everything I do. It's not just about bubble baths or treats. It's about nourishing my mind, body, and spirit so I can handle life's demands with resilience and grace. Putting self-care first has made me a better friend, partner, and professional. I've learned that taking care of myself isn't about indulgence. It's about giving myself the tools I need to thrive. When I'm at my best, I can give my best. And that's a gift not only to myself, but to everyone around me. 27. Fear gives bad advice. Fear used to be a constant presence in my decision-making. It would creep in whenever I was on the edge of something new or challenging, whispering doubts and worst-case scenarios. I listened to it, thinking it was protecting me from failure or embarrassment. But over time, I realized that fear wasn't helping me. It was holding me back. The more I listened to fear, the more opportunities I missed, the more dreams I put on hold, and the smaller my life became. One day, I decided to stop letting fear call the shots. I started questioning it, asking, is this fear real, or is it just my mind trying to keep me comfortable? More often than not, I found that fear was based on assumptions or exaggerated possibilities rather than actual threats. I began to notice that when I pushed past my fears, I experienced growth, excitement, and fulfillment. Fear had been limiting my life, and I was ready to break free. Now, I acknowledge fear when it arises, but I don't let it drive my decisions. I remind myself that fear isn't always rational, and it's okay to feel it while still moving forward. I've learned that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's taking action in spite of it. Embracing this mindset has allowed me to step into new experiences, take risks, and live a life that's full rather than safe. Fear may still be there, but now I see it for what it is. A poor advisor that I no longer take seriously. 28. Be willing to be misunderstood. For a long time, I sought validation in everything I did. I wanted people to understand my choices, my goals, and my dreams. I thought that if I explained myself enough, others would see things my way. But the more I tried to get people to understand me, the more frustrated I became. Not everyone shared my perspective or my vision, and their doubts and criticisms began to weigh on me. I realized that I was holding myself back, fearing their misunderstanding more than I valued my own path. That's when I learned to accept that being misunderstood is often part of pursuing something unique or ambitious. I stopped explaining myself to everyone and started focusing on what mattered to me. Not everyone would get it, and that was okay. I had to be willing to stand firm in my choices, even if others didn't agree or understand. This shift gave me a newfound sense of freedom and confidence. I didn't need approval from everyone around me. I just needed to believe in myself. Now, I embrace being misunderstood as a sign that I'm following my own path, not someone else's. I've learned that staying true to myself is more important than gaining others' approval. This perspective has made me stronger and more resilient, allowing me to pursue my dreams without fear of judgment. Being willing to be misunderstood has taught me the value of self-acceptance and the power of listening to my own voice, regardless of the noise around me. 29. Get rid of all your vices. For a long time, I held on to certain vices, small habits that I knew weren't good for me, but felt harmless enough. Maybe it was procrastination, binge-watching shows, or relying on unhealthy foods for comfort. These habits felt like small indulgences, a way to escape or unwind. But over time, I noticed they were taking a toll. They were distractions that kept me from facing reality, from reaching my goals, and from living my best life. Each vice, however small, was holding me back in subtle but powerful ways. One day, I decided to take a closer look at these habits and ask myself, is this really helping me? The answer was almost always no. I started letting go of one vice at a time, replacing it with healthier habits that aligned with the life I wanted to build. At first, it was challenging. I missed the comfort of my old routines. But as I let go of these vices, I felt lighter, more focused, and more in control of my life. Now, I make a conscious effort to live free from vices that drain my energy and limit my potential. I'm not perfect, but I'm committed to replacing old habits with ones that nurture my growth and well-being. Getting rid of my vices has taught me that true freedom comes from discipline, and that the small sacrifices I make today create space for a more fulfilling tomorrow. Letting go of what doesn't serve me has allowed me to step into a life that feels aligned, purposeful, and genuinely satisfying. 30. Prioritize a regular sleep schedule. For a long time, I viewed sleep as something that could be sacrificed for productivity. I'd stay up late, thinking I could get more done, only to wake up feeling exhausted and dragging through the day. My productivity suffered, my mood was low, and my health started to take a hit. It became clear that skimping on sleep wasn't helping me. It was actually holding me back. I realized that prioritizing sleep wasn't a luxury. It was a necessity for my well-being and success. So, I made the commitment to prioritize a regular sleep schedule. I set a consistent bedtime and focused on creating a relaxing evening routine to help me wind down. At first, it was difficult to break old habits, but the benefits were undeniable. With a full night's sleep, I woke up feeling refreshed, focused, and ready to tackle my day. My energy levels were more stable, my productivity improved, and I felt better both mentally and physically. Now, I see sleep as a non-negotiable part of my self-care routine. It's the foundation of my health, my energy, and my ability to show up fully each day. Prioritizing sleep has taught me that rest isn't a weakness. It's a strength that fuels everything else in my life. By committing to a regular sleep schedule, I've gained a renewed sense of vitality and balance. I'm no longer sacrificing my well-being for temporary productivity. Instead, I'm investing in rest as a way to create lasting success and happiness. 31. Learn the art of persuasion. I used to think persuasion was just about getting others to agree with me. I'd approach conversations with a goal of convincing people that my perspective was right, but it rarely worked out the way I wanted. Often I ended up frustrated, wondering why others couldn't see things my way. It wasn't until I began to study persuasion as an art, focusing on understanding others and meeting them where they were, that I realized persuasion isn't about pushing my ideas, but about creating mutual understanding and trust. When I began approaching conversations with genuine curiosity, I noticed a change. Instead of trying to win, I started listening more, asking questions, and trying to see things from the other person's perspective. This shift helped me connect more deeply, and I found that people were more open to hearing my thoughts when they felt respected and understood. Persuasion became less about making my case and more about guiding people toward common ground. Now, I see persuasion as a skill that requires empathy, patience, and respect. It's about building relationships, not just arguments. I've learned that when I focus on connecting and understanding, people are naturally more receptive to my ideas. This approach has improved my relationships, my professional life, and my confidence. I no longer view persuasion as a way to control conversations, but as a way to foster cooperation, collaboration, and positive change. The art of persuasion has taught me the power of kindness and the importance of listening, and it's made me a better communicator in every area of my life. 32. Embrace failure as learning. I used to fear failure like it was the worst thing that could happen. If I failed at something, I'd beat myself up, feeling embarrassed and defeated. I'd go over my mistakes, wondering why I couldn't get it right the first time. But after experiencing several setbacks, I began to see that failure was actually one of my greatest teachers. Each time I failed, I learned something new about myself, about what didn't work, and about how to improve. Embracing failure didn't come naturally. I had to change my mindset and start seeing mistakes as stepping stones rather than dead ends. Instead of asking, "Why did this go wrong?" I started asking, "What can I learn from this?" This simple shift transformed how I approached challenges. I became less afraid of taking risks and more willing to try things, knowing that even if I failed, I'd come out stronger and wiser. Now, I view failure as an essential part of growth. I see each setback as an opportunity to refine my approach and gain new insights. I no longer let failure define me. Instead, I let it guide me toward a better path. Embracing failure as learning has made me more resilient, more open to challenges, and more optimistic about my journey. It's given me the freedom to pursue my goals with courage, knowing that every failure is simply a lesson in disguise. 33. The word no is a complete sentence. For most of my life, I felt obligated to explain every no I gave. If I couldn't attend an event, take on a project, or do a favor, I'd offer long-winded explanations to avoid disappointing anyone. But over time, I realized that constantly justifying my no was exhausting. It made me feel like I owed people something simply for setting boundaries. Then one day, I read that no is a complete sentence, and it changed everything. At first it was hard to say no without explaining. I worried about coming across as rude or unhelpful, but the more I practiced, the more empowered I felt. I learned that I don't owe anyone a justification for protecting my time, energy, and priorities. Saying no without explanations allowed me to set clearer boundaries and focus on what truly mattered to me. I found that people respected my decisions more when I was direct and confident in my response. Now, I use no as a simple, powerful tool for setting boundaries. I no longer feel pressured to give reasons or apologies for my choices. This approach has given me the freedom to prioritize my needs and spend my time on things that align with my goals. I've learned that no isn't just a refusal. It's an affirmation of my values and my right to make choices that serve my well-being. Saying no confidently has strengthened my relationships and my self-respect, and I'm grateful for the clarity and empowerment it brings. 34. Stay humble by thinking of yourself less. Humility is something I've always admired, but it took me a while to understand what it really meant. For a long time I thought humility was about downplaying my achievements or not taking up too much space. I tried to avoid talking about my successes, thinking that was what made me humble. But over time, I learned that true humility isn't about minimizing myself. It's about thinking less about myself and more about how I can serve others. This shift in perspective has been transformative. I realized that humility isn't about hiding my strengths or achievements. It's about using them to make a positive impact. When I focus less on myself and more on how I can contribute, I feel more connected to the people around me. I'm less worried about how I'm perceived and more focused on doing meaningful work, supporting others, and making a difference. Humility has become less about my ego and more about my purpose. Now, I practice humility by thinking of myself less, not by minimizing my worth, but by focusing on how I can uplift others. This approach has brought me a sense of peace and fulfillment. I feel more grounded and genuinely grateful for the opportunities I have to make a positive impact. Staying humble by thinking of myself less has taught me that true strength lies in service, and that I can achieve more by putting others first while still valuing my own worth. 35. Have a primary aim for your life. For a long time, I felt like I was just going through the motions. I'd set goals here and there, but there was no overarching purpose guiding my decisions. I was busy, but felt like I was wandering without direction. Then I came across the concept of having a primary aim, a clear purpose or guiding vision for my life. I realized that I needed something bigger than individual goals, something that would give my life meaning and direction. Setting a primary aim took some deep reflection. I thought about what truly mattered to me, what kind of person I wanted to become, and how I wanted to impact the world. Gradually, I defined a vision that felt authentic and inspiring. With this aim in mind, I began making choices that aligned with my purpose. Decisions that once felt confusing became clearer, as I now had a guiding compass. Having a primary aim has given my life focus and motivation. It's not about having all the answers or a rigid plan. It's about having a sense of direction that helps me stay aligned with what truly matters. Now I feel more fulfilled and energized because I'm working towards something meaningful. My primary aim keeps me grounded and reminds me of the bigger picture, even during challenging times. This purpose has become a source of strength, guiding me forward with clarity and conviction. 36. Stop reading books. Start studying them. I used to read books at a rapid pace, moving from one to the next without giving myself time to truly absorb the lessons. I'd finish a book, feel inspired for a moment, and then quickly move on, forgetting much of what I'd just learned. Eventually I realized that I wasn't getting as much value from books as I could. Reading was supposed to be enriching, but my approach wasn't allowing the knowledge to stick or make a real impact. So, I decided to try something different. Instead of racing through books, I'd study them. I'd take notes, reflect on the key points, and consider how each lesson could apply to my own life. I began rereading certain passages and even discussing the material with friends or colleagues. This approach transformed my reading experience. Books became more than just entertainment. They became tools for personal growth and sources of wisdom that I could carry with me long after I'd turned the last page. Now, I approach books as mentors rather than just stories. I don't rush to finish. Instead, I take my time to really internalize the lessons. Studying books this way has deepened my understanding and helped me apply the insights to my daily life. I find myself returning to certain books again and again, extracting new meanings each time. This practice has taught me that knowledge isn't about how much I consume. It's about how well I apply it. By studying books instead of just reading them, I'm able to turn knowledge into real, lasting change. 37. Teach people how to treat you. For a long time I struggled with setting boundaries. I'd tolerate behavior that made me uncomfortable or unhappy, thinking it was easier to go along than to address it. But over time I realized that by staying silent, I was teaching people that this treatment was acceptable. I was, in a way, setting the standard for how they interacted with me. I learned that if I wanted respect and kindness from others, I had to set clear boundaries and communicate them. Setting boundaries didn't come naturally. At first, it felt confrontational, but I quickly realized that boundaries are actually an act of self-respect. When I started speaking up, people began to understand my limits and adjust their behavior. I didn't have to be harsh or demanding. I simply had to be honest about what I needed and what was or wasn't okay. By teaching others how I wanted to be treated, I created healthier, more respectful relationships. Now, I'm intentional about showing others how to treat me. I communicate openly and stand by my boundaries. This practice has improved my relationships and brought a sense of peace and balance to my life. I've learned that when I set the standard, people respect it, and those who don't simply aren't meant to be in my life. Teaching others how to treat me has been empowering. It's a way of honoring my own worth and creating an environment where I feel respected, valued, and supported. 38. When things get easy, go harder. For a long time I thought reaching a level of comfort was a sign that I could ease up and coast along. When things started feeling easier, I'd let myself relax, thinking I'd already done the hard work. But I noticed that whenever I got too comfortable, I'd start to feel stagnant and unfulfilled. The progress I'd made would plateau, and I'd begin to lose the momentum that had brought me this far in the first place. Then I learned the value of pushing myself precisely when things started to feel easy. I realized that ease is an opportunity, not a destination. When I'm not facing immediate challenges, I have the mental space to set higher goals, build new skills, or take on projects I'd previously avoided. Now, when things start to feel comfortable, I see it as a cue to up the ante. I push myself to go a little harder, to raise the bar on my own expectations. Embracing this mindset has kept me growing and improving. I no longer view comfort as a stopping point, but as a foundation from which I can reach new heights. When I challenge myself in times of ease, I stay engaged, motivated, and excited about my journey. This approach has helped me make consistent progress, and it's taught me that growth happens when I push my limits, even and especially when things feel easy. 39. Find mentors, not idols. I used to admire people from afar, seeing them as larger-than-life figures whose achievements I could only hope to emulate. I idolized them, thinking that if I could somehow be like them, I'd find success. But over time, I realized that idolizing people created a sense of distance, almost like putting them on a pedestal. I couldn't relate to them, and I often felt discouraged by the gap between where I was and where they were. Then I learned the difference between idols and mentors. Unlike idols, mentors are people who are willing to share their journey with me, to offer guidance and encouragement. Instead of just admiring them from a distance, I could actually learn from their experiences and insights. Mentors made me feel that success was achievable because they had been where I was and understood the steps to move forward. Building real connections with mentors gave me access to practical advice, support, and a sense of accountability. Now, I seek mentors instead of idols. I look for people who are accessible, who are willing to share their wisdom, and who genuinely want to see me grow. Having mentors has made my journey feel more tangible and less intimidating. I no longer feel the need to idolize. Instead, I feel empowered by the knowledge and encouragement my mentors provide. Finding mentors has taught me that success is a shared path, and with the right guidance I can reach goals I once thought were out of reach. 40. Look for problems to solve. I used to avoid problems, seeing them as inconveniences or obstacles that stood in my way. If something seemed complicated, I'd often sidestep it, thinking that avoiding it would make my life easier. But eventually, I realized that every problem I encountered had a hidden opportunity within it, a chance to learn, grow, and create something valuable. I began to see that solving problems wasn't a burden. It was a pathway to meaningful progress. Once I adopted this mindset, I actively started looking for problems to solve, both in my personal life and in my work. I began to ask, how can I make this better? Or, what solutions could create a positive impact? This approach not only made me more proactive, but also helped me discover talents and strengths I didn't know I had. Each problem I solved boosted my confidence and expanded my capabilities. Now, I view problems as opportunities for growth and contribution. I'm no longer afraid of challenges or setbacks. I welcome them as chances to make a difference and build my skills. This mindset has made my life more fulfilling and has shown me that the more problems I solve, the more capable I become. Looking for problems to solve has taught me that life's challenges are not obstacles, but invitations to create, learn, and lead. 41. Confidence comes from integrity. For a long time, I thought confidence was something I could gain from external achievements, winning an award, getting recognition, or receiving praise. But while these moments felt good, the confidence they brought was often fleeting. I realized that true confidence didn't come from how others viewed me. It came from how I viewed myself, and that self-respect was built on one thing: integrity. Integrity means keeping the promises I make to myself, even when no one is watching. It's about doing what I say I'll do, following through on my goals, and acting in line with my values. When I uphold my own standards, I feel a quiet sense of pride that no one can take away. There's something incredibly grounding about knowing that I can trust myself, that I'm someone who does what they say they will. This inner trust is the foundation of true confidence. Now, I focus less on external validation and more on aligning my actions with my values. I know that as long as I'm acting with integrity, I can be proud of myself, no matter the outcome. This shift has given me a lasting confidence that doesn't depend on others' opinions or approval. By living in alignment with my values, I've built a confidence rooted in self-respect, and it's one of the most empowering transformations I've ever experienced. 42. Embrace imperfect beginnings. For the longest time, I hesitated to start anything unless I felt completely prepared. I'd wait until everything was perfectly lined up. The timing, the resources, the knowledge. But the perfect moment rarely came, and I'd end up delaying my dreams and goals indefinitely. I finally realized that waiting for perfection was just a form of procrastination, and if I wanted to make progress, I had to be willing to start messy and imperfectly. Starting before I felt ready was uncomfortable, but it was also liberating. I learned that I didn't need to have everything figured out to make meaningful progress. Each small step taught me something new, and I adjusted along the way. By embracing imperfection, I gave myself permission to grow and learn in real time, without the pressure of getting it all right immediately. Now I approach new ventures with a spirit of curiosity and openness. I know I can refine and improve as I go, but the important thing is to start. Embracing imperfect beginnings has taught me that progress, not perfection, is what truly moves me forward. This mindset shift has opened doors I'd previously kept shut, and I'm grateful for the freedom to pursue my dreams without waiting for everything to be just right. 43. People often test you right before breakthroughs. There have been times when, just as I was on the verge of a breakthrough, I'd face unexpected challenges. People would question my choices, criticize my progress, or test my resolve in ways that made me doubt myself. It felt like the universe was throwing obstacles in my path, right when I was closest to reaching my goal. But over time, I came to realize that these tests weren't setbacks. They were signals that I was about to level up. Now, whenever I'm met with resistance or doubt, I take it as a sign that I'm on the right path. I remind myself that breakthroughs often come after moments of intense challenge, and these tests are there to help me grow stronger and more resilient. Instead of backing down, I lean into the discomfort, knowing that on the other side is the progress I've been working toward. This perspective has changed how I handle adversity. When I feel tested, I don't see it as a reason to quit. I see it as proof that I'm pushing beyond my comfort zone. Embracing these tests has allowed me to break through barriers I once thought were impossible. I've learned that the greatest rewards often come after the hardest challenges, and I'm willing to stay the course, knowing that my perseverance will pay off. 44. Set boundaries for self-respect. Setting boundaries used to feel difficult, even selfish. I worried about disappointing people or coming across as rude. But as I continued to put others' needs before my own, I realized that I was losing respect for myself. I was constantly drained, overcommitted, and feeling resentful. I finally understood that setting boundaries wasn't about pushing people away. It was about valuing my own time, energy, and well-being. When I started setting boundaries, it felt uncomfortable at first, but I quickly saw the benefits. I had more time and energy to focus on the things that mattered to me, and I felt a renewed sense of self-respect. I realized that when I respected my own limits, others respected them too. Setting boundaries became a way of honoring myself, showing that my needs and priorities were important. Now, I view boundaries as a vital part of self-care. They're not barriers. They're guidelines that help me protect my peace and maintain healthy relationships. I've learned that self-respect begins with respecting my own limits and communicating them clearly. By setting boundaries, I'm able to show up more fully in my life, knowing that I'm honoring my own worth. 45. Gratitude and ambition can coexist. For a while, I thought that being grateful for what I had meant I shouldn't want more. I'd feel guilty for having big dreams and ambitions, thinking it was somehow a sign of dissatisfaction. But I eventually learned that gratitude and ambition aren't opposites, they're partners. I can appreciate everything I have while still striving for more. Practicing gratitude has taught me to find joy in the present, to value my journey, and to celebrate my achievements. But my ambitions keep me excited for the future and motivated to grow. I've learned that being grateful for where I am doesn't mean I have to stop aiming higher. Gratitude gives me a strong foundation, and ambition pushes me forward. Together, they create a balanced mindset where I'm both content and driven. Now, I embrace both gratitude and ambition as essential parts of my life. I wake up grateful for the opportunities I've been given, and I go to bed with dreams of what I can create next. This combination has allowed me to enjoy the present without losing sight of my future goals. I've found that gratitude and ambition can coexist harmoniously, each fueling the other in a way that keeps me grounded, fulfilled, and inspired. 46. Treat others how you want to be treated. This simple principle has been a guiding light in my relationships. Whenever I'm in a challenging situation, I remind myself to treat others the way I'd want to be treated. It's easy to react out of frustration or impatience, but I know that kindness, respect, and empathy are values I hold dear, and I try to live by them every day. This approach has helped me build stronger connections and handle conflicts with grace. When I put myself in others' shoes, I find that I'm more understanding and compassionate. I've learned that a small gesture of kindness can make a big difference, and treating others with respect often brings out the best in them too. By living this principle, I not only uplift others but also create an environment where positivity and mutual respect thrive. Now, treating others as I'd want to be treated isn't just a rule, it's a way of life. It reminds me to approach every interaction with empathy and integrity. This mindset has enriched my relationships and brought a sense of harmony and fulfillment to my life. I believe that by embodying the values I admire, I can make a positive impact on the people around me and build a life centered on love and respect. 47. If you keep running into bad people, look inward. There was a time when I felt like I kept attracting negativity in my life. Difficult co-workers, friends who weren't supportive, or situations that felt toxic. I'd wonder why I was surrounded by such energy, assuming it was just bad luck. But after some reflection, I realized that there might be a deeper reason behind these recurring encounters. Perhaps it wasn't just about the people around me. Maybe there was something within me that needed attention. Looking inward was challenging, but it opened my eyes. I began examining my own beliefs, behaviors, and boundaries. I noticed patterns where I allowed certain treatment or ignored red flags. I realized that my own mindset and actions were playing a role in the kind of people and situations I was attracting. When I started making shifts, valuing myself more, setting healthier boundaries, and being mindful of my energy, the quality of my relationships and encounters improved. Now, whenever I feel like I'm surrounded by negativity, I take a step back and reflect on my own role. I ask myself if there's anything I need to adjust in my mindset or behavior. This self-awareness has transformed my relationships and has taught me that the energy I put out often mirrors what comes back to me. By looking inward and making positive changes, I've created a more supportive and uplifting environment around me. 48. Waiting for a sign is a sign. I used to wait for the perfect moment to make a decision or take a big step. I'd tell myself that I needed a clear sign from the universe before moving forward. But what I didn't realize was that waiting for a sign was, in itself, a sign. It was a sign that I was already curious, already considering the change, and perhaps just holding back out of fear or doubt. One day, I decided to interpret my desire for a sign as a signal to act. I stopped waiting for external validation and began trusting my own instincts. If I was looking for a sign to pursue a dream or make a life change, I took it as a sign that I was ready to explore it. This shift in perspective freed me from overthinking and gave me the courage to start. I realized that I didn't need the universe to spell things out for me. I could trust myself to make decisions. Now, whenever I feel that desire for a sign, I treat it as my inner voice giving me a gentle nudge. I trust that if I'm already thinking about a change, it's worth exploring. This approach has helped me take ownership of my choices and has given me the freedom to move forward with confidence. I've learned that the sign I'm looking for is often already within me, waiting for me to listen and take action. 49. Admit when you're in the wrong place. For a long time I stayed in situations, jobs, friendships, even routines that didn't feel right. I'd convince myself that things would improve or that I just needed to push through. But deep down, I knew when something wasn't a good fit. It was uncomfortable to admit that I might be in the wrong place because it felt like failure. I worried about the judgment or the unknown of what might come next. Eventually, I realized that staying in the wrong place was costing me more than the discomfort of change ever could. It was holding me back from growth, joy, and fulfillment. Admitting that something isn't right doesn't mean I've failed. It simply means I'm making space for what truly aligns with me. Now, I listen to my instincts more closely. When I feel uneasy or out of sync, I take it seriously and consider if it's time to move on. Making the choice to leave the wrong place has empowered me. I no longer see it as a setback, but as an act of courage and self-respect. By being honest with myself, I've been able to find environments and relationships that genuinely support me. Admitting when I'm in the wrong place has taught me that it's okay to change direction and that letting go is often the first step toward finding where I truly belong. 50. Build a weekly routine of reflection. Life can get so busy that it's easy to go through the motions without stopping to think about where I'm headed. I used to do this, just moving from one task to the next, checking off to-dos without taking the time to reflect. But then I realized that without reflection, I wasn't learning from my experiences or adjusting my goals. I needed a way to check in with myself and make sure I was living intentionally. So I decided to create a weekly reflection routine. Every Sunday, I take a little time to review my week, what went well, what I learned, and where I want to improve. I also set intentions for the week ahead, aligning my actions with my long-term goals. This simple habit has brought so much clarity and purpose to my life. Instead of just reacting to circumstances, I feel more in control, more focused, and more aware of my progress. Now, this weekly routine is something I look forward to. It grounds me, gives me perspective, and reminds me of my priorities. Building a routine of reflection has helped me grow, stay on track, and live a life that feels authentic and meaningful. By taking the time to look inward each week, I'm able to stay aligned with my values and continue moving toward the life I truly want. Reflection has become a powerful tool for growth, and I'm grateful for the clarity and intention it brings to my journey. These 50 insights are more than just advice. They're life lessons that can shape the way you approach everything, from relationships to personal growth. Remember, real change doesn't happen overnight, but by embracing these truths, you're already taking the first steps towards a more fulfilling life. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which insight resonated with you the most? Or do you have a personal takeaway that's helped you along your journey? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read each one, and I'd love to connect with you there. If you found value in this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights that can guide you on your path to growth. And if you know someone who could benefit from these lessons, go ahead and share this video with them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Ten disturbing signs. You're surrounded by fake people and how to deal with this problem. In a world filled with social connections, it's easy to mistake proximity for authenticity. Yet, some of the most harmful relationships in our lives come disguised as friendships. These individuals, whom we might call fake people, are not always overtly toxic. Instead, they erode trust and authenticity in subtle but destructive ways. They prioritize appearances, manipulate emotions, and often pursue their self-interest at the expense of others. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, keep company only with those who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best self. Why does recognizing fake people matter? It's not just about avoiding discomfort. These relationships can drain our mental energy, corrode our self-esteem, and distract us from meaningful pursuits. When we allow insincerity to linger in our lives, we compromise our peace of mind. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of maintaining our inner tranquility by choosing carefully whom we let into our circle. He wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do, only what you do matters." Spotting fake people is about reclaiming this tranquility. The purpose of this article is to help you identify the subtle yet disturbing signs of fake people in your life. Armed with this awareness, you can take purposeful action to protect yourself and nurture relationships that reflect mutual respect and authenticity. In doing so, you align yourself with the Stoic ideal of living a virtuous life, where your energy is channeled toward what truly matters, becoming the best version of yourself and fostering meaningful connections. Recognizing fake people isn't about fostering suspicion, but about practicing discernment. By learning to spot these toxic behaviors, you take a powerful step toward living a life of integrity and emotional freedom. 1. Excessive flattery that feels insincere or manipulative. Flattery, when sincere, can uplift and inspire. But when it's used as a tool for manipulation, it becomes a trap. Fake people often shower others with excessive praise, not to express genuine admiration, but to disarm or manipulate them. As Seneca observed, "A flatterer is a friend who is your enemy in disguise. Their words may feel good in the moment, but their intentions are rooted in self-interest." Consider a colleague who constantly praises your work in meetings, but later undermines you to superiors, or a friend who compliments your appearance excessively, but expects favors in return. Their compliments feel hollow, as if they're saying what they think you want to hear, not what they truly believe. This behavior often reveals a lack of authenticity and a desire to manipulate your emotions for their gain. Stoicism teaches us to value truth over comfort. Marcus Aurelius advises, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." In the same vein, it's crucial to seek relationships built on honesty rather than superficial praise. When someone's flattery feels disproportionate or self-serving, pause and question their motives. True friends will offer encouragement grounded in sincerity, not manipulation. To protect yourself, focus on cultivating a strong sense of self-worth that doesn't depend on others' approval. When you value yourself for who you are, you become less susceptible to the allure of empty compliments. Instead, you'll recognize the deeper worth of those who support you with honesty and integrity. 2. Talking behind your back, but acting friendly in person. Few things are as damaging to trust as discovering that someone speaks poorly of you when you're not around. Fake people often maintain a facade of friendliness while sowing discord behind closed doors. This duplicity can leave you questioning your perception and doubting the authenticity of your relationships. Picture a co-worker who greets you warmly every day but criticizes your efforts to others, undermining your reputation. Or a friend who listens to your struggles only to share them as gossip in another circle. These actions reveal a fundamental lack of respect and loyalty. As Epictetus cautioned, first, learn the meaning of what you say and then speak. Stoic wisdom reminds us to guard our peace by aligning ourselves with those whose actions match their words. Marcus Aurelius advises, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." This is a powerful reminder to value truth over appearances. When faced with a two-faced individual, don't internalize their behavior as a reflection of your worth. Instead, recognize it as their failure to live virtuously. To address this, cultivate direct and honest communication. If you suspect someone of speaking behind your back, confront them calmly and assertively. A genuine person will respond with accountability, while a fake one will deflect or deny. Build relationships with those who value integrity and let go of connections that lack mutual respect. 3. Disappearing. When you need support, but showing up during your successes. True friends stand by your side through both triumphs and trials. Fake people, however, have a pattern of vanishing when the going gets tough, only to reappear when there's something to gain. Their loyalty is conditional, tied to how your circumstances benefit them. As Seneca noted, adversity is the truest touchstone of friendship. Imagine reaching out to someone during a personal crisis, only to be met with silence. Later, when you achieve a milestone or success, they're the first to show up, eager to share in the spotlight. Their behavior reveals a lack of genuine care. They value what you can offer them, not who you are. Stoicism teaches us to accept hardships as part of life's natural ebb and flow. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't be surprised. Everything in life is but what you make it." Similarly, the presence of fake people during difficult times shouldn't surprise you. Instead, let it sharpen your discernment. To protect yourself, pay attention to who remains during challenging moments. These are the people who value you unconditionally. Limit your emotional investment in those who disappear when you need them most. By focusing on authentic relationships, you free yourself from the disappointment of unmet expectations and align with Stoic principles of self-sufficiency and resilience. 4. Constantly competing with you or one-upping your experiences. A hallmark of fake people is their inability to celebrate your successes without feeling threatened. They often turn every conversation into a competition, diminishing your achievements to elevate their own. This behavior reflects insecurity, and a need for validation at your expense. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, "Be content with what you are, and wish not for what you are not." Imagine sharing an exciting promotion only to hear, "That's nice, but when I was promoted, it was to an even higher position," or discussing a personal milestone only for them to immediately share a bigger accomplishment. Their focus isn't on you, but on how they can outshine you. Stoicism reminds us to focus on what is within our control, our own actions and thoughts. Comparing yourself to others, or allowing their comparisons to affect you, only leads to unnecessary suffering. As Epictetus taught, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Recognize that their behavior stems from their own struggles, not your inadequacy. To deal with these individuals, disengage from the competition they create. Avoid trying to match their one-upmanship, and instead redirect the conversation to topics of mutual interest or genuine connection. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your successes as much as their own. By aligning with those who uplift rather than compete, you cultivate a community rooted in mutual respect and shared joy. 5. Showing little interest in your life unless it benefits them. Fake people often display selective interest. They'll engage with you only when they have something to gain. Conversations with them feel transactional, not mutual, leaving you feeling used rather than valued. Seneca captured this dynamic perfectly. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Picture a friend who rarely asks about your life, but becomes highly attentive when they need advice, resources, or connections. Once their needs are met, their interest in you quickly fades. This lack of reciprocity reveals their self-centered motives and undermines genuine connection. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate relationships based on shared virtue, not utility. Marcus Aurelius advises, "Waste no more time on arguing what a good man should be one." True friends invest in your well-being because they care, not because they expect something in return. To address this, observe how others respond when you share your joys and struggles. Authentic friends will engage out of genuine interest, while fake ones will either redirect the conversation to themselves or lose interest. Limit your investment in relationships that lack reciprocity and focus on building connections with people who value you for who you are, not what you can provide. 6. Using gossip or lies to manipulate others' opinions about you. Fake people often rely on gossip and deceit to manipulate others' perceptions of you. They spread half-truths, twist facts, and sow seeds of doubt to undermine your reputation. This behavior reflects their insecurity and lack of integrity. As Epictetus said, "The soul that is enslaved to its passions is tossed by the waves." Consider a co-worker who subtly criticizes you to your boss while maintaining a friendly demeanor toward you. Or a friend who spreads personal information you shared in confidence to create drama. These actions are not only hurtful, but also indicative of someone who lacks the moral character to build trust. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of aligning with people who practice virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Fake people often fail this test, and their behavior reveals their character more than it damages yours. To protect yourself, avoid engaging in gossip yourself. By maintaining your integrity, you ensure that their lies hold less power. Confront manipulative individuals calmly and directly when necessary, but don't allow their actions to pull you into a cycle of negativity. Instead, focus on building relationships with individuals who value honesty and transparency. By doing so, you reinforce the Stoic ideal of a life rooted in virtue and resilience. 7. Fake apologies that lack sincerity and accountability. A fake person's apology is often a hollow performance designed to save face rather than make amends. They may say, "I'm sorry you feel that way," deflecting responsibility, or apologize simply to move past the issue without addressing the root cause. As Seneca observed, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." A fake apology underscores the pain of insincere relationships. Consider a friend who dismisses your hurt feelings with, "I didn't mean it like that, but if it upset you, sorry." Their words lack genuine remorse or a commitment to change. Such apologies fail to repair trust or strengthen the bond. Instead, they reveal a deeper unwillingness to prioritize mutual respect and growth. Stoicism teaches us to value actions over words. As Marcus Aurelius advised, "Waste no more time talking about what a good man should be one." A sincere apology involves acknowledgement of harm, accountability, and a genuine effort to change. Fake apologies fail this test, revealing the person's lack of authenticity. To address this, don't let empty words pacify you. Respond by calmly expressing what you need from an apology, such as accountability and change. If the person continues offering insincerity, it may be time to reevaluate the relationship. Surround yourself with individuals who value integrity and are willing to take responsibility for their actions, as these are the foundations of meaningful connections. 8. Mimicking your behavior or interests to blend in or gain favor. Fake people often mimic your mannerisms, hobbies, or preferences to gain your trust or approval. While imitation can be flattering when rooted in admiration, it becomes unsettling when it's used manipulatively. Epictetus warned, "Know, first, who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." Fake people, lacking this self-awareness, adopt others' identities to mask their own insecurities. Imagine a co-worker who suddenly shares your interests, or a friend who starts dressing, talking, or behaving just like you. At first, this might seem like a coincidence, but over time, it becomes clear that their mimicry is a strategy to gain acceptance or leverage. Stoicism teaches us to value authenticity above all. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be yourself, the world will adjust." Genuine relationships are built on mutual respect for each other's individuality, not on forced conformity. To protect yourself, observe whether this person also mirrors others or shifts their behavior depending on who they're with. If their mimicry feels manipulative, create boundaries and focus on authentic connections. Encourage others to embrace their true selves by doing so yourself. When you align with people who value individuality, you foster a community of authenticity and mutual respect. 9. Emotionally draining interactions with little reciprocity. Fake people often engage in relationships that feel one-sided. They may lean on you for emotional support, but disappear when you need help. Interactions with them leave you feeling drained, as they take far more than they give. As Marcus Aurelius noted, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Fake people disrupt this quality by monopolizing your emotional energy. Consider a friend who constantly unloads their problems on you but dismisses your struggles or changes the subject when it's your turn to talk. Their behavior demonstrates a lack of empathy and reciprocity, hallmarks of an insincere relationship. Stoicism reminds us to guard our inner peace by avoiding unnecessary emotional burdens. Epictetus advised, "He who is not satisfied with a little is satisfied with nothing." Fake people often demand more of your time and energy than they're willing to return, leaving you perpetually unsatisfied. To address this, set clear boundaries. Limit the time and energy you devote to relationships that feel draining. Seek connections with people who offer emotional support and balance. By focusing on these authentic relationships, you can preserve your emotional well-being and create a network of mutual care. 10. Prioritizing appearances and status over genuine connection. For fake people, appearances often take precedence over authenticity. They prioritize how things look over how they feel, valuing social status and public image more than meaningful relationships. Seneca's words remind us of the folly in this. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Fake people's obsession with appearances stems from their own insecurities, not genuine value. Imagine a friend who only spends time with you in public, ensuring they're seen with you at social events, but avoiding deeper, private conversations. Or a colleague who flatters you in meetings, but ignores you otherwise. Their actions are about optics, not connection. Stoicism teaches us to focus on substance over form. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be satisfied with what you have and accept the present moment." Genuine relationships thrive on mutual understanding and shared values, not superficial displays of success or popularity. To protect yourself, recognize when someone's actions are more about performance than connection. Prioritize relationships that value honesty and depth over appearances. Surround yourself with people who see your worth beyond status or social clout. By doing so, you align with the Stoic ideal of living a life grounded in authenticity and virtue. Solutions and how to protect yourself. Recognizing fake people in your life is only the first step. The real challenge lies in protecting yourself from their toxic influence while fostering authentic connections. Stoic wisdom offers practical strategies to navigate these challenges with clarity and resilience. 1. Identify and limit interactions. Epictetus reminds us, the key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. Once you identify fake people, consciously limit your exposure to their negativity. This doesn't always mean cutting them off completely. Sometimes, especially with co-workers or family members, that's impractical. Instead, create emotional boundaries. For example, avoid sharing personal details with those who have betrayed your trust and engage with them only when necessary. 2. Communicate directly and assertively. Fake people often thrive on ambiguity, so clear, assertive communication can disarm their tactics. If someone exhibits toxic behaviors, address it calmly and firmly. Marcus Aurelius advises, be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. Approach conversations with compassion, but stand firm in expressing your boundaries. For instance, if a friend constantly gossips, tell them, I'm uncomfortable discussing others this way. 3. Build a strong support system. A community of authentic, supportive individuals is a powerful antidote to the effects of fake relationships. Seek out people who align with your values and demonstrate loyalty and empathy. Seneca encourages us to associate with people who are likely to improve you. Invest your energy in these relationships and let them reinforce your sense of belonging and self-worth. 4. Practice self-care and emotional resilience. Fake people can drain your emotional reserves, making self-care essential. Marcus Aurelius advises, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Focus on activities that nurture your well-being, such as journaling, meditation, or engaging in hobbies that bring you joy. Strengthen your inner world so you rely less on external validation. 5. Seek professional guidance when necessary. If fake people have caused significant emotional harm, don't hesitate to seek help. A therapist or counselor can provide tools to navigate these challenges and help you heal. Stoicism doesn't mean handling everything alone. It encourages wisdom in seeking the right resources for growth and recovery. By following these steps, you align with the Stoic principle of cultivating a life rooted in virtue and authenticity. You not only protect yourself from the influence of fake people, but also pave the way for deeper, more meaningful connections. Identifying fake people in your life is not about fostering distrust, but about practicing discernment to protect your peace and well-being. Stoicism reminds us that our inner tranquility depends on the quality of our relationships. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. By removing toxic influences and nurturing genuine connections, you create space for growth, resilience, and joy. Recap the signs. Excessive flattery, duplicity, emotional one-sidedness, and a focus on appearances are just a few of the red flags to watch for. Recognizing these behaviors allows you to limit their impact and make room for relationships that truly matter. Remember, you are the guardian of your own well-being. As Seneca advised, associate with people who may improve you and welcome those whom you may improve. Surround yourself with people who uplift, challenge, and inspire you. Finally, embrace your self-worth. You deserve relationships built on trust, honesty, and mutual care. By fostering authenticity in yourself and others, you not only protect your emotional health, but also build a life of deeper meaning and connection. Take this wisdom to heart and let it guide you. Your time and energy are precious. Invest them wisely. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like the video. It really helps spread this message to others who might need it. Subscribe to the channel for more insights on relationships, personal growth, and wisdom inspired by timeless philosophies. And of course, if you think someone in your life could benefit from this, don't hesitate to share it with them. Your support means the world and helps us continue creating content that empowers and inspires. Thank you for being part of this community, and remember, always choose authenticity and protect your peace. See you in the next video. Ten subtle ways your best friend is jealous of you and how to deal with this problem. Have you ever achieved something significant only to sense that your best friend's reaction wasn't as genuine as you hoped? Perhaps their smile didn't quite reach their eyes, or their congratulations felt forced. Jealousy, even in the closest friendships, can manifest subtly, hiding beneath layers of admiration and connection. Jealousy is a complex emotion, a mix of admiration for your success and resentment born of their own insecurities. It doesn't always mean malice. Sometimes it's a reflection of their internal struggles. Yet, when left unchecked, jealousy can erode the foundation of trust and support that defines a healthy friendship. The purpose of this video is not to vilify jealousy, but to help you recognize the subtle signs when it arises in your closest relationships. Stoicism teaches us the importance of self-awareness and understanding. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul." By observing rather than reacting, we can approach situations of jealousy with clarity and composure. It's essential to remember that someone's jealousy often says more about their insecurities than about your actions. A true friend's struggles with envy might stem from their fears of inadequacy or unfulfilled goals. By recognizing this, you can navigate these dynamics with empathy while protecting your peace. In the coming sections, we'll explore 10 subtle signs that your best friend may be jealous of you. We'll also discuss how to handle these situations gracefully, maintaining your values and fostering healthier connections. Let's dive in with an open mind and a calm heart, as the Stoics would, ready to face challenges with wisdom and understanding. 1. Downplaying your achievements. Imagine sharing exciting news with your best friend, a promotion, a personal milestone, or an accomplishment you've worked hard for, only to hear them brush it off with a dismissive comment like, "Well, it's not that big of a deal," or "It's about time you achieve something like that." These remarks, subtle as they may seem, can sting and leave you wondering why your success doesn't spark genuine enthusiasm. This behavior often stems from envy. Instead of celebrating with you, your friend minimizes your accomplishments to protect their own sense of worth. It's not necessarily malicious. It might reflect their inner struggles with inadequacy or comparison. Still, it's important to recognize how these comments can affect the dynamics of your friendship. Stoic wisdom reminds us to remain grounded in our values and not let external opinions define our happiness. As Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Your achievements are yours to celebrate, regardless of how others respond. Do not let their dismissal cloud your pride in what you've earned. When this happens, respond with grace and clarity. For example, you might say, "This milestone means a lot to me, and I'd appreciate your support." If the pattern continues, take note of how their behavior affects your emotional well-being. True friends will uplift you, not diminish your joy. Recognizing this subtle sign isn't about confrontation, but awareness. A friend who downplays your achievements may not realize the impact of their words. By maintaining your confidence and addressing the behavior calmly, you protect your peace and encourage healthier dynamics in the relationship. 2. Excessive criticism disguised as honesty. A true friend offers constructive feedback, but when criticism becomes constant and feels more like an attack than helpful advice, it may be masking jealousy. This honesty often comes unsolicited and focuses on nitpicking your choices or undermining your confidence. Imagine sharing plans about a new project, only to hear, "Are you sure that's a good idea? It sounds risky," or "I wouldn't do it that way, but it's your call." While framed as concern, their comments often leave you doubting yourself rather than feeling supported. Stoicism teaches us to distinguish between what serves our growth and what detracts from it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." When criticism from a friend feels more like veiled judgment than encouragement, it's worth evaluating their intentions. Responding with calm and confidence is key. Acknowledge their input without internalizing it. "I hear what you're saying, but I feel good about this decision." If their behavior persists, consider discussing how their words affect you. "I value your perspective, but sometimes your feedback feels more critical than supportive." A genuine friend aims to build you up, not wear you down. By recognizing excessive criticism for what it is, you protect your confidence and maintain clarity about your path. 3. Competing with you. Healthy friendships thrive on mutual support, but when your friend starts treating your achievements as benchmarks for their own, it shifts the dynamic from camaraderie to competition. Instead of celebrating your successes, they respond with their own accomplishments or plans to outshine you. Imagine telling your friend you've started running 5Ks, only for them to announce their intention to run a marathon, immediately turning the conversation into a comparison. Or perhaps you share news of a promotion and they respond with, "Well, I'm planning to apply for an even better position soon." This competitive behavior often stems from insecurity. Stoicism reminds us not to measure our worth by external achievements. As Epictetus said, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves." True contentment comes from self-mastery, not from outdoing others. Addressing this dynamic requires tact. Focus on redirecting the conversation to mutual celebration. "That's great. I'm happy we're both achieving our goals." If the competition feels relentless, you may need to set boundaries or limit discussions that trigger this behavior. Friendship is not a race. It's a journey taken together. A wise person prioritizes collaboration over rivalry, fostering a bond where both parties can thrive without comparison. 4. Lack of genuine happiness for your success. A best friend should be your biggest cheerleader. but if their congratulations feel forced or their enthusiasm seems shallow, it could be a sign of jealousy. Instead of celebrating your wins, they may subtly shift the focus back to themselves or offer lukewarm praise that leaves you feeling unsupported. For instance, you share that you've landed a dream job, and they respond with, "That's nice, but I've been thinking about applying for something similar," or "Cool. Anyway, guess what happened to me today?" Their reaction isn't about celebrating your joy, it's about diverting attention. Stoicism teaches us to value internal affirmation over external validation. As Seneca said, "The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which depends on tomorrow and wastes today." Your happiness should not hinge on another's approval or reaction. Celebrate your successes fully, regardless of how others respond. When you notice this behavior, try addressing it with kindness. "I'd love to share more about this. Your support means a lot to me." If their lack of enthusiasm continues, reflect on whether their behavior is a pattern or an isolated instance. True friends find joy in each other's victories. By recognizing a lack of genuine happiness, you can protect your emotional well-being and nurture connections where your successes are truly celebrated. 5. Spreading gossip or making snide remarks. A jealous friend may resort to gossip or passive-aggressive comments as a way to undermine you subtly. These behaviors can be especially hurtful, as they erode trust and leave you questioning the foundation of your friendship. For example, you hear that your friend has shared personal details about your struggles with others, or made an offhand remark like, "She's successful now, but you wouldn't believe what she was like before." These actions often stem from their attempt to diminish your image in the eyes of others. Stoicism emphasizes integrity and self-respect. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Focus on living in alignment with your values, knowing that gossip or negativity reflects their character, not yours. When faced with gossip or snide remarks, address the issue calmly and directly. "I heard you shared something personal about me. Is that true? It hurt to hear that." This approach shifts the focus from blame to accountability. If they deny or justify their actions, it may signal a deeper issue in the relationship. Friendships thrive on trust, and when that trust is broken, it's essential to evaluate the relationship's health. A wise person does not tolerate behaviors that undermine their peace or integrity. Seek connections built on respect and distance yourself from those who erode it. 6. Avoiding you during your high points. True friends are there to share in your joy, but a jealous friend might withdraw when you're thriving. Instead of celebrating your successes with you, they distance themselves, leaving you feeling unsupported during your most significant moments. Picture this. You achieve a personal milestone, like graduating, getting a promotion, or completing a major project. Instead of showing up for your celebration or offering heartfelt congratulations, your friend suddenly becomes too busy or keeps their interactions with you minimal. Their absence isn't coincidental. It's a reflection of their discomfort with your success. Stoicism teaches us to focus on our own actions and accept that others' behavior is beyond our control. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Do not waste the remaining part of your life in thoughts about others when you do not refer to some purpose of common utility." If a friend avoids you during your high points, it's a reflection of their inner struggles, not a judgment of your worth. To address this, try expressing how you feel without accusation. "I missed you at my event. It would have meant a lot to have you there." Their response will help you gauge whether their absence is rooted in jealousy or simply poor timing. If the pattern persists, reflect on the value they bring to your life. True friendships shine brightest during celebrations and struggles alike. Surround yourself with people who uplift you during your highs and stand by you in your lows. Anything less is a relationship that stifles your growth. 7. overly focusing on their problems. In a healthy friendship, there's space for both individuals to share their struggles and celebrate their wins. A jealous friend, however, may monopolize conversations with their own problems, leaving little room to acknowledge your achievements. This behavior subtly shifts the dynamic, making you feel unheard or overshadowed. For example, you share exciting news about a promotion, but before you've finished your story, your friend interrupts with their latest drama. "That's great, but let me tell you what happened to me yesterday. It's been a nightmare." Their constant focus on their struggles draws attention away from your joy and places it squarely on them. Stoicism encourages balance and the practice of mutual support. As Seneca wrote, "We are waves of the same sea, leaves of the same tree, flowers of the same garden." Friendships should reflect this interconnectedness, where both parties feel valued and supported. If this pattern arises, gently steer the conversation back to balance. "I'm happy to hear about what's going on with you, but can we take a moment to celebrate my news too?" This approach reaffirms your need for reciprocity without diminishing their feelings. A true friendship values equality in emotional sharing. By recognizing when the balance shifts too far, you can protect your voice in the relationship and ensure that your achievements are honored as they deserve to be. 8. Copying you. Imitation may be the sincerest form of flattery, but when a friend starts copying your style, hobbies, or decisions in a way that feels competitive rather than admiring, it can be a subtle sign of jealousy. Their actions might reflect a desire to match your success rather than celebrate it. For instance, you start a fitness journey, and suddenly your friend embarks on the same routine, constantly comparing their progress to yours. Or perhaps you take up a new hobby, and they join in, but make it a point to outperform you. What starts as shared interests can quickly feel like rivalry. Stoic wisdom reminds us to focus on our unique journey. Epictetus advised, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." You are not in competition with anyone, and your path should remain distinct, guided by your own values and goals. When you notice this behavior, respond with calm curiosity. "I noticed we've been overlapping a lot in what we do lately. What's inspired you?" This can open a dialogue and help you understand their intentions. If their imitation continues to feel competitive, it might be worth discussing your feelings more openly. True friends can share interests without turning them into contests. By maintaining confidence in your own individuality and addressing competitive behaviors with grace, you can preserve your peace and ensure your friendships remain healthy and fulfilling. 9. Sabotaging your efforts. A jealous friend may subtly discourage you from pursuing your goals or create obstacles that make it harder for you to succeed. This behavior is often framed as concern or practicality, but its underlying intent is to undermine your confidence or derail your progress. Imagine sharing your dream of starting a business, and your friend responds with, "That's a tough industry. Are you sure you're ready for that kind of stress?" Or perhaps you're preparing for an important presentation, and they accidentally cause delays or distractions, leaving you feeling unprepared. These actions, while subtle, reveal their discomfort with your potential success. Stoicism teaches us to remain steadfast in the face of external challenges. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." A manipulative friend's attempts to sabotage you reflect their own fears and insecurities, not your capabilities. To address this, approach the situation calmly and directly. "I noticed you've been hesitant about my plans. Is there something you're worried about?" This opens a space for honest dialogue while making it clear you're aware of their behavior. If their actions persist, consider limiting their influence over your decisions. True friendships are supportive, not sabotaging. Protect your goals and aspirations by surrounding yourself with people who encourage your growth. A wise person prioritizes connections that inspire confidence, not doubt. 10. Expressing subtle resentment. Sometimes jealousy manifests in offhand remarks or jokes that carry an undertone of bitterness or envy. These comments may be framed as humor, but often leave you questioning their true intent. For example, after you share an accomplishment, they might say, "Must be nice to have everything handed to you," or "Guess not everyone has to work as hard as I do." While these statements appear light-hearted, they carry an edge that reveals underlying resentment. Stoic philosophy advises us to focus on our own actions and remain unaffected by others' negativity. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Recognize these remarks for what they are, a reflection of their internal struggle, not your worth or efforts. When faced with subtle resentment, respond with calm confidence. "I worked hard for this, and I'm proud of what I've achieved." If their behavior becomes a pattern, consider addressing it more openly. "Your comments sometimes feel dismissive. Can we talk about this?" Healthy friendships are built on mutual respect and support. Subtle resentment erodes trust and connection, so it's essential to protect your peace by addressing it calmly and, if necessary, stepping back from the relationship. A wise person values relationships that uplift, not those that undermine. By recognizing and addressing jealousy, you create space for healthier, more fulfilling connections. Solutions and how to handle jealousy in friendships. Jealousy in friendships, though challenging, doesn't have to lead to the end of the relationship. With awareness, understanding, and clear communication, you can address these dynamics while protecting your peace. Here are practical steps to navigate jealousy in friendships. 1. Self-awareness. Before addressing your friend's behavior, reflect on your own actions. Are you unintentionally triggering their insecurities? For instance, could your excitement about a recent success come across as boasting? Stoicism teaches us to focus on what is within our control, our actions and attitudes. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." By ensuring your behavior is balanced, you create a solid foundation for addressing their jealousy. 2. Open communication. Gently addressing the behavior can open the door to understanding. Approach the conversation with empathy rather than accusation. For example, "I've noticed some tension when I share my successes. Is everything okay? I value our friendship and want to understand how you feel." This encourages honesty and allows you both to work through the issue collaboratively. 3. Set boundaries. If their jealousy manifests as criticism, sabotage, or negativity, establish clear boundaries to protect your emotional well-being. Stoicism reminds us that peace comes from within, not from external approval. Say something like, "I value our time together, but I need our conversations to feel positive and supportive." Boundaries show respect for yourself and the relationship. 4. Encourage their growth. Jealousy often stems from feelings of inadequacy. Support your friend in pursuing their own goals and passions. Complement their strengths, offer encouragement, and celebrate their achievements. By focusing on their growth, you can help shift their perspective from comparison to self-improvement. 5. Know when to let go. Not all friendships can withstand the strain of jealousy, especially if it leads to toxic behaviors. Recognize when it's time to step back. As Epictetus said, "He who is free is the one who lives as he wishes, neither constrained nor restrained." Letting go doesn't mean failing. It means valuing your well-being and seeking healthier connections. Friendships are among life's most rewarding relationships, but even the strongest bonds can be tested by jealousy. Recognizing the subtle signs of envy allows you to address these challenges with wisdom, empathy, and grace. True friendships are built on mutual respect, trust, and joy for each other's successes. When jealousy arises, it's an opportunity to strengthen the connection through open communication and shared growth. However, if the relationship becomes toxic or one-sided, it's okay to step back and seek connections that uplift and inspire you. Remember, as the Stoics teach, your worth is not defined by others' opinions or reactions. Surround yourself with friends who celebrate your journey and walk alongside you with genuine support. In doing so, you create a life enriched by meaningful and balanced relationships, connections that foster mutual growth and lasting joy. Friendships are among life's most rewarding relationships, but even the strongest bonds can be tested by jealousy. Recognizing the subtle signs of envy allows you to address these challenges with wisdom, empathy, and grace. True friendships are built on mutual respect, trust, and joy for each other's successes. When jealousy arises, it's an opportunity to strengthen the connection through open communication and shared growth. However, if the relationship becomes toxic or one-sided, it's okay to step back and seek connections that uplift and inspire you. Remember, as the Stoics teach, your worth is not defined by others' opinions or reactions. Surround yourself with friends who celebrate your journey and walk alongside you with genuine support. In doing so, you create a life enriched by meaningful and balanced relationships, connections that foster mutual growth and lasting joy.
Imagine living in a world where truth is a rare commodity, a landscape dominated by elaborate fabrications and deceit. You never know when the next lie will surface, leaving you constantly on edge, questioning every word and action. This is the world created by a pathological liar, an individual whose web of deceit permeates every aspect of their existence. They don't just lie occasionally. Their falsehoods are a constant, insidious presence. Unlike the occasional fib most people might tell, pathological liars thrive on manipulation, weaving intricate stories that distort reality. They present themselves as trustworthy and reliable, but beneath the facade lies a sinister intent. The deception is so convincing that it becomes difficult to discern what is real. The constant uncertainty destabilizes those around them, creating a climate of confusion and mistrust.
As Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, taught, integrity and honesty are the bedrocks of a virtuous life. Pathological liars erode these foundations, making it essential to recognize and address their behavior. Their deceitful actions demand vigilance and discernment to protect yourself and maintain your peace of mind. It's crucial to understand how to navigate interactions with such individuals. Here are 10 powerful ways to deal with pathological lying, grounded in wisdom and the principles of Stoic philosophy. Number 1, recognize the signs.
Recognizing the signs of pathological lying is the first step in protecting yourself from the corrosive effects of deceit. Unlike occasional falsehoods, pathological lies are pervasive and woven into the fabric of the liar's daily interactions. These lies are often elaborate, detailed, and constructed to create a convincing narrative. The pathological liar may present themselves as trustworthy and reliable, but inconsistencies will start to surface over time. Notice if their stories often seem too good to be true, frequently contradict themselves, or lack verifiable details. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that we must be vigilant and discerning, grounding ourselves in reality to see through deception. By remaining observant and questioning the veracity of their claims, we begin to peel away the layers of falsehood and reveal the truth. This recognition is not about becoming paranoid or overly suspicious, but about developing a keen sense of awareness. The path to wisdom and integrity starts with the ability to distinguish truth from falsehood, and recognizing the signs of pathological lying is a crucial first step in that journey.
Number 2, set clear boundaries. Setting clear boundaries is essential when dealing with a pathological liar. Boundaries serve as a protective barrier, safeguarding your integrity and emotional well-being. Pathological liars often test limits, seeking to manipulate and control situations to their advantage. By defining what behavior is acceptable and what is not, you establish a firm line that cannot be crossed. This act of setting boundaries is a testament to your self-respect and commitment to truth. Epictetus emphasized the importance of self-control and maintaining one's principles. In dealing with deceit, it is imperative to be firm and consistent with your boundaries. Clearly communicate your expectations and the consequences of crossing those boundaries. This clarity not only protects you, but also signals to the liar that their behavior is unacceptable. It is a demonstration of your resolve to live by the values of honesty and integrity. Remember, boundaries are not about punishment. They are about self-preservation and maintaining a healthy environment where truth can thrive. Number 3, seek evidence. In the face of pathological lying, seeking evidence becomes a vital practice. Verifying claims and cross-checking information are tools of discernment that help you navigate the web of deceit. Pathological liars rely on the assumption that their stories will be accepted without question. By seeking evidence, you disrupt this assumption and bring truth to the forefront. Epictetus taught that we should seek clarity and truth in all things. This principle is especially relevant when dealing with deceit. Take the time to investigate and validate the information presented to you. Look for corroborating details and consult reliable sources. This process not only protects you from being misled, but also exposes the patterns of deceit. Over time, the liar's fabrications will unravel under the scrutiny of evidence. This practice of verification aligns with the Stoic commitment to wisdom and integrity, reinforcing your ability to stand firm in the face of falsehoods. Number 4, communicate directly. Addressing the issue of pathological lying directly is crucial. Confrontation, when done with calmness and clarity, can be a powerful tool in managing deceit. The pathological liar know that their behavior has been noticed and is unacceptable. Epictetus encouraged direct communication and the pursuit of truth. Even in challenging situations, approach the conversation with a composed and resolute demeanor. Express your observations and concerns without anger or accusation. The goal is to make the liar aware that their deceit is not going unnoticed and that it has consequences. This direct approach can sometimes prompt self-reflection and change in the liar's. However, it's important to manage your expectations and understand that change may not occur immediately. By communicating directly, you assert your commitment to honesty and integrity, and you create an environment where deceit is less likely to thrive. This practice aligns with the Stoic values of courage and wisdom, empowering you to uphold the truth. Number 5, limit interaction. Limiting your interaction with a pathological liar is a protective measure that helps preserve your mental and emotional well-being. Continuous exposure to deceit can be draining and destabilizing. By reducing the amount of time you spend with the liar, you minimize their influence over you. Epictetus advised us to be mindful of our associations, recognizing that the company we keep can impact our virtue and tranquility. Distancing yourself from the pathological liar does not mean avoiding them entirely, but being strategic about when and how you interact. Choose your encounters carefully and maintain a certain level of detachment. This practice helps you stay grounded in your own values and reduces the chances of being caught up in their web of lies. Limiting interaction is a way to safeguard your peace of mind and maintain your commitment to truth and integrity. It is a demonstration of self-respect and wisdom, aligning with Stoic principles of self-preservation and discernment.
Number 6, maintain your integrity.
Maintaining your integrity is paramount when dealing with pathological liars. It is easy to be swayed or tempted to retaliate with deceit, but Stoic philosophy teaches us to rise above such inclinations. Epictetus emphasized the importance of living in accordance with our values, regardless of external circumstances. Your integrity is a reflection of your character and commitment to truth. In interactions with a pathological liar, remain steadfast in your honesty and principles. Do not stoop to their level or engage in similar behavior. By upholding your integrity, you set a powerful example and reinforce your own moral compass. This steadfastness not only protects you from the corrosive effects of deceit, but also fortifies your sense of self. Maintaining integrity requires courage and resilience, but it is the cornerstone of a virtuous life. It allows you to navigate interactions with confidence and clarity, knowing that you are true to yourself and your values. Number 7, educate yourself. Educating yourself about pathological lying and its underlying causes can provide valuable insights and strategies for dealing with deceit. Understanding the psychological aspects of this behavior can help you navigate interactions with greater wisdom and empathy. Pathological lying is often rooted in deeper issues, such as personality disorders or past traumas. By learning more about these factors, you can approach the situation with a more informed perspective. Epictetus taught that knowledge and understanding are essential for living a virtuous life. Take the time to research and educate yourself about the nature of pathological lying. This knowledge will equip you with the tools to identify and respond to deceit more effectively. It also fosters a sense of compassion as you recognize that the liar's behavior may be driven by unresolved psychological issues. However, it is important to balance empathy with self-preservation, ensuring that you do not become enmeshed in their web of deceit. Education empowers you to act wisely and protect yourself, aligning with Stoic principles of wisdom and discernment. Number 8, encourage professional help. Encouraging the pathological liar to seek professional help is a compassionate and constructive approach. Pathological lying can be a symptom of deeper psychological issues that may require therapy or counseling. Suggesting professional help shows that you recognize the seriousness of their behavior and care about their well-being. Epictetus emphasized the importance of seeking improvement and growth, both for ourselves and others. Approach the conversation with empathy and understanding, expressing your concern for their mental health. Suggesting therapy or counseling can provide them with the support and tools needed to address their lying behavior. While you cannot force them to seek help, planting the seed of this idea can be a step toward positive change. Encouraging professional help demonstrates your commitment to their well-being and your own boundaries. It aligns with Stoic principles of compassion, wisdom, and the pursuit of improvement, fostering a healthier and more honest environment. Number 9, stay grounded in truth. Staying grounded in truth is essential when dealing with pathological liars. Their constant deceit can create a confusing and destabilizing environment. By reaffirming your commitment to truth, you protect yourself from being swayed by their lies. Epictetus taught that we must anchor ourselves in reality and truth, regardless of external influences. Regularly remind yourself of your values and principles, and seek out reliable sources of information. Surround yourself with people who value honesty and integrity, as their support can help you stay grounded. Practice mindfulness and self-reflection to maintain clarity and discernment. Staying grounded in truth not only shields you from deceit, but also reinforces your own moral compass. It empowers you to navigate interactions with confidence and integrity, knowing that you are anchored in reality. This practice aligns with Stoic principles of wisdom, self-control, and the pursuit of virtue, fostering a life grounded in truth and honesty. Number 10. Seek support. Seeking support from trusted friends, family, or professionals is crucial when dealing with a pathological liar. The constant deceit and manipulation can be mentally and emotionally exhausting. Having a support system provides you with perspective, advice, and emotional backing. Epictetus emphasized the importance of community and seeking counsel from wise individuals. Share your experiences and concerns with those you trust, and listen to their insights. They can offer valuable advice on how to navigate the situation and maintain your well-being. Professional support, such as therapy or counseling, can also provide tools and strategies for dealing with deceit. Seeking support is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of wisdom and self-care. It ensures that you do not face the challenges of dealing with a pathological liar alone. This practice aligns with Stoic principles of resilience, wisdom, and the value of community, helping you maintain your integrity and emotional health. Navigating the treacherous waters of pathological lying requires wisdom, resilience, and unwavering commitment to truth. By recognizing the signs, setting firm boundaries, seeking evidence, and maintaining your integrity, you arm yourself against the corrosive effects of deceit. Encourage professional help and lean on your support network to reinforce your resolve. Remember, staying grounded in truth and practicing discernment are your greatest defenses. As Epictetus taught, our virtue is tested not by the circumstances we face, but by how we respond to them. Embrace these principles to protect your peace and uphold the values of honesty and integrity. Your journey through the landscape of deceit can become a testament to the strength of your character.
We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Have you ever dealt with a pathological liar? How did you handle it? Share your stories and insights in the comments below, and let's continue this important conversation together. Your wisdom could be the guiding light for someone else navigating the same challenges. Here are 12 reasons you must know why people secretly hate you. Ignoring these could cost you relationships, opportunities, and even your peace of mind. What if their resentment isn't random but stems from subtle actions you never realized you were making? Or worse, what if their dislike has nothing to do with you at all, yet still poisons the way they treat you? These hidden reasons are more common than you think, and failing to recognize them could leave you blindsided when it matters most. But it doesn't have to be this way. In this video, we'll explore 12 surprising reasons why people secretly hate you, backed by timeless Stoic wisdom. Each one will not only open your eyes to these invisible dynamics, but also empower you with practical tools to navigate them. By the end, you'll be armed with the clarity and confidence to protect your peace and rise above negativity. Let's begin. 1. Rumors and gossip. I remember the first time I realized how damaging gossip could be. It was during a tough period in my life when I worked hard to establish my reputation in a new job. Things were going well until I overheard whispers that painted me in a completely different light. Someone had shared a rumor, twisting my words and intentions, and suddenly I felt like I was walking on eggshells around everyone. People avoided me, and I could see the change in their expressions. It hurt deeply because the story wasn't true, but I had no way to stop it. At first, I wanted to confront the person who started it, to set the record straight, but something inside me held back. I realized that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't control what others said or believed. That's when I turned to a piece of Stoic wisdom from Marcus Aurelius. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. I decided to focus on living in a way that proved the rumors wrong, letting my actions speak louder than any gossip. It wasn't easy. There were days when I wanted to scream, "That's not who I am," but instead I kept showing up with integrity, doing my best and staying kind, even to the person who had wronged me. Over time, people began to see the truth for themselves. The rumor lost its power, and the respect I gained by staying composed outweighed the temporary damage. I learned something valuable through that experience. Gossip is like a wildfire, quick to spread, but easily extinguished by the steady rain of truth. People may talk, but their words don't define who you are. Your actions do. Now, when I hear rumors about myself or others, I remind myself of that lesson. I stay calm, focus on my values, and refuse to let the negativity of others dictate my self-worth. If anything, the experience taught me to be more mindful of how I speak about others. Words are powerful, and I choose to use mine to build others up, not tear them down. And when I focus on my truth, gossip becomes just noise in the background of a meaningful life. 94.2. Fear of change and resistance to growth. I've noticed that not everyone is thrilled when you start to grow or improve yourself. This realization hit me hard during a time when I decided to make some big changes in my life. I wanted to focus on my health, so I stopped drinking and started prioritizing exercise and better eating habits. I was excited and proud of my progress, but not everyone around me shared that enthusiasm. Some friends made subtle comments like, "Oh, so you're too good for us now," or "You've changed." At first, it stung. I wanted them to see that my growth wasn't about them. It was about becoming a better version of myself. But instead of support, I felt resistance. It was confusing and disheartening. Why couldn't they just be happy for me? That's when I stumbled upon Marcus Aurelius's words. Observe constantly that all things take place by change. It reminded me that change is natural, even necessary, and not everyone is ready to embrace it. When we grow, it often shines a light on the areas where others feel stuck. It's not that they hate you, they hate the reminder that they're not moving forward themselves. I started to approach these situations differently. Instead of feeling hurt or defensive, I tried to understand their perspective. Maybe they were scared of being left behind or afraid to confront their own need for change. I also reminded myself that their feelings were outside my control. What I could control was my response, and I chose to keep growing. I stopped apologizing for my progress. I learned to let go of relationships that felt more like anchors than sails. Most importantly, I realized that true friends will celebrate your evolution, not resist it. And those who don't? They're fighting their own battles, and that's okay. Now, whenever I face resistance to my growth, I think of it as a compliment in disguise. It means I'm doing something right. Change is uncomfortable, not just for me, but for those watching, and that's part of the process. The best thing I can do is keep moving forward, living authentically, and inspiring others to do the same, whether they're ready for it or not. 3. Misunderstandings and ineffective communication. I can't count the number of times a simple misunderstanding has caused unnecessary tension in my relationships. One incident sticks out clearly. I was texting a friend about meeting up, and I replied with a short, "Sure, whatever works." To me, it was casual and flexible, but to them, it sounded cold and dismissive. The next time we talked, they were distant, and I couldn't figure out why until they brought up the text. It shocked me how something so small had been interpreted so differently from how I intended. That moment taught me a valuable lesson. The way we express ourselves and how others perceive it are often two very different things. Miscommunication isn't just about words, it's about tone, timing, and even body language. A misplaced word or a misunderstood look can create walls of resentment before we even realize it. Stoic wisdom has been a guide here. Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." That advice has helped me approach communication more thoughtfully. When conflicts arise, I try to step back and consider, what did they hear versus what I meant to say? This mindset has been a game changer in resolving misunderstandings before they escalate. Now, I make a conscious effort to clarify my intentions, especially in sensitive situations. I've also learned the value of asking questions rather than making assumptions. If someone seems upset, I'll ask, "Did I say something that upset you?" Or, "How did that come across to you?" This openness has helped me bridge gaps and avoid unnecessary resentment. Of course, misunderstandings still happen. It's part of being human. But I've found that practicing active listening and showing empathy can make all the difference. When I take the time to hear someone out, even when I disagree, it shows that I value their perspective. Most conflicts rooted in miscommunication can be resolved with patience and a willingness to understand. Looking back, I realize that many of my past conflicts could have been avoided with better communication. It's not always easy, but striving for clarity and compassion in my interactions has strengthened my relationships and brought more peace into my life. 4. Envy and jealousy. I used to think that if I worked hard and treated people with kindness, I'd naturally earn their support and goodwill. But life has a funny way of proving otherwise. I'll never forget when I received a promotion at work that I had worked tirelessly for. Instead of celebrating with me, one of my closest colleagues became distant and cold. At first, I thought I'd done something wrong, but over time, it became clear. It wasn't about me at all. It was about them. Envy and jealousy are strange emotions. They can turn admiration into contempt and respect into resentment. Stoicism gave me a new lens to view this. Marcus Aurelius said, "Don't worry about things outside your control." And the truth is, someone else's envy is entirely outside my control. I didn't create their feelings. Their dissatisfaction with their own life did. My success simply held up a mirror to their insecurities. It's not easy to deal with envy, especially when it comes from people you care about. At first, I tried to shrink myself, downplaying my achievements to avoid making them uncomfortable, but that only made me feel small and diminished my hard-earned success. Over time, I realized that hiding my light wasn't the answer. Instead, I began to focus on staying grounded in my values, working hard, being kind, and supporting others in their journeys. When I encounter envy now, I remind myself that it's not a reflection of who I am, but of what the other person is struggling with. I also try to respond with compassion. Instead of taking their behavior personally, I look for ways to encourage and uplift them, showing them that my success doesn't take away from theirs. Envy is a powerful emotion, but it's one that people must deal with on their own terms. My role is to keep moving forward, staying true to my path, and not letting others' insecurities hold me back. In the end, I've learned that my achievements don't just belong to me. They're also opportunities to inspire others, even if they don't see it that way right away. and that perspective keeps me focused on the bigger picture. 5. Lack of recognition. One of the most painful experiences I've had was feeling invisible in a group where I worked so hard to contribute. I poured hours of effort into a project, ensuring every detail was perfect, only to watch someone else get all the credit. I smiled politely, but inside I felt a sharp sting of bitterness. Why didn't anyone notice what I had done? Why was my effort so easily overlooked? It's a natural human desire to want recognition for our hard work. When that acknowledgement doesn't come, it can breed resentment and even anger, not just toward those who overlooked us, but also toward anyone who seems to receive the recognition we crave. But the more I've studied Stoic philosophy, the more I've realized that seeking validation from others is a fragile foundation for happiness. Epictetus reminds us, don't allow your happiness to depend on something you may lose. Recognition from others is fleeting and often influenced by factors beyond our control. I've learned that the key to overcoming this sense of invisibility lies in shifting my focus inward. Instead of seeking external validation, I now strive to find fulfillment in the work itself. Did I do my best? Did I act with integrity? If the answer is yes, then I know my effort has value, even if no one else acknowledges it. That's not to say I don't still feel the pang of being overlooked sometimes. It's human. But I've also learned the importance of speaking up for myself when appropriate. Sometimes people simply aren't aware of what you've contributed, and a gentle reminder can make all the difference. Other times, I've had to accept that not everyone will notice or appreciate my work, and that's okay too. Now, when I feel underappreciated, I remind myself why I do what I do. Recognition is nice, but it's not the goal. The goal is to grow, to learn, and to contribute meaningfully to whatever I'm part of. By focusing on those internal rewards, I found a deeper sense of peace and purpose, and that's something no one can take away from me. 6. Competition and rivalry. I used to think of competition as purely motivational, something that pushed everyone to do better, but I've learned that competition can easily shift from a healthy drive to a toxic rivalry, especially when emotions like insecurity and jealousy get involved. One experience stands out vividly. A colleague and I were both working toward the same promotion. At first, it felt like friendly competition, but as the deadline approached, the dynamic changed. They started undermining me subtly, questioning my ideas in meetings, and even spreading rumors about my work ethic. I was shocked and hurt. I had always seen competition as a way for both parties to improve, not as a reason to tear each other down. For a while, I let their actions consume me. I started doubting myself, wondering if I should retaliate or try to outplay them. But then I stumbled upon Marcus Aurelius's wisdom. What stands in the way becomes the way. That quote shifted my mindset completely. I realized that the rivalry wasn't just an obstacle, it was an opportunity to focus on my own values and growth. Instead of engaging in their negativity, I decided to concentrate on what I could control, doing my best work with integrity. I stopped comparing myself to them and redirected my energy into proving my worth through my actions. When I took my focus off the competition and put it back on self-improvement, I found clarity and peace. I couldn't control their behavior, but I could control how I responded. The promotion eventually went to me, but by the time it did, my perspective had shifted. Winning wasn't about beating them. It was about staying true to my principles. Looking back, I'm grateful for that experience. It taught me that toxic competition doesn't have to pull you down. It can be a chance to rise above and reaffirm your values. Now, I approach rivalry differently. I see it as a tool for growth rather than a battle to win. When competition arises, I remind myself that another person's success doesn't diminish mine, and there's room for everyone to thrive. That mindset has not only made me more resilient, but also helped me build healthier, more respectful relationships, even with those I once considered rivals. 7. Personal insecurities and projection. I didn't fully understand the power of personal insecurities until I found myself on the receiving end of someone's misplaced hostility. A co-worker, who always seemed friendly enough, suddenly started acting cold and dismissive toward me. They would roll their eyes during meetings when I spoke or dismiss my ideas without much consideration. It baffled me. What had I done to deserve this? After weeks of frustration, a mutual friend confided in me. The co-worker felt threatened by my recent success in a project they had wanted to lead. At first, I took their behavior personally. I questioned myself. Was I being too assertive? Did I unintentionally overshadow them? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized their hostility wasn't about me. It was about their own insecurities. They were projecting their feelings of inadequacy onto me, using me as a scapegoat for their internal struggles. Stoic wisdom offered clarity. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This reminded me that their perception of me was rooted in their fears, not in who I actually was. Instead of letting their negativity consume me, I chose to respond with empathy. I didn't confront them or call them out. Instead, I focused on staying consistent in my behavior, kind, collaborative, and respectful. I also started seeing their actions as a reflection of their struggles rather than an attack on me. It shifted my perspective entirely. Their resentment didn't mean I was in the wrong. It meant they were grappling with feelings of inadequacy, and my success had unintentionally triggered those emotions. Now, when I encounter similar situations, I remind myself of this lesson. Everyone has insecurities, and sometimes they manifest as negativity toward others. It's not my job to fix their feelings, but it is my responsibility to maintain my integrity. Instead of taking it personally, I choose to focus on my own growth while extending understanding to those who might be projecting their struggles. This mindset has helped me approach conflicts with more compassion and less frustration. It's a reminder that what others see in you often has more to do with what they feel about themselves, and that's their battle, not yours. 8. Lack of empathy and understanding. I used to believe that if I treated people with kindness and fairness, they'd naturally do the same in return. But over time, I realized that not everyone sees the world through the same lens. One particular experience drove this home for me. I had a disagreement with a teammate on a project. I thought I had been clear and reasonable, but they took my comments as a personal attack. Instead of talking it out, they began avoiding me, and eventually spreading negativity about me to others. At first, I was frustrated and confused. I couldn't understand how they had misunderstood my intentions so badly. But then it hit me. They weren't seeing the situation from my perspective. They had interpreted my words through the filter of their own experiences and insecurities, just as I might have done in their shoes. It wasn't malice. It was a lack of empathy and understanding. Stoicism has taught me a lot about this dynamic. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: What fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize? That piece of wisdom shifted my thinking. Instead of getting defensive, I began to reflect on how I might also misinterpret others or fail to empathize in certain situations. I decided to approach the teammate with humility and openness. I apologized for any misunderstanding and explained my intentions clearly, without blaming them. It wasn't an instant fix, but over time, the relationship improved. That experience taught me that many conflicts stem from a lack of mutual understanding, not outright hostility. Since then, I've made empathy a priority in my interactions. When someone seems upset or distant, I ask myself, what might they be going through that I don't see? I've learned to listen more, judge less, and give people the benefit of the doubt. It doesn't mean excusing bad behavior, but it does mean approaching situations with compassion and a willingness to bridge the gap. Empathy isn't always easy, but it's essential for building stronger, healthier connections. By practicing it, I've found that I'm not just better at resolving conflicts, I'm also better at avoiding them in the first place. And that's a win for everyone involved. 9. The influence of social expectations. I'll never forget the first time I realized how powerful social expectations could be in shaping how others perceive us. When I decided to pursue an unconventional career path, people I thought would support me instead started treating me differently. Some questioned my choices outright, while others seemed to distance themselves. It was subtle but unmistakable. Their disappointment and judgment came not from who I was, but from the fact that I wasn't living up to what they believed I should do. At first, I felt a deep sense of frustration. I wanted to explain myself, to justify my decisions and prove that my path was valid. But then I asked myself a simple question: who am I really living for? This reflection brought me back to a core principle of Stoicism. Epictetus said, "It is not the things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about these things." Their judgments weren't the problem. It was how much I allowed those judgments to affect me. I realized that their discomfort wasn't really about me. My choices challenged the norms and values they had built their lives around. In some ways, I think my decision forced them to confront their own doubts or fears about living authentically. Once I understood this, I stopped feeling the need to justify myself. I let go of trying to win their approval and focused instead on staying true to my own values and goals. Over time, I also learned to embrace the idea that not everyone will understand or accept your path. And that's okay. Some people will come around once they see your conviction, while others may never fully understand. What matters is that you stay aligned with your purpose and don't let societal pressures dictate your life. Now, when I face judgment or resistance for stepping outside of the norm, I remind myself that authenticity often disrupts comfort zones, including my own. Living true to myself isn't just freeing, it's necessary for my happiness and growth. By embracing this mindset, I've found greater peace and fulfillment, and I've learned to navigate others' expectations with grace and confidence. 10. The lack of recognition.